We absolutely know whose fault it was. I'm just saying.
Oh, I was trying to defend Nick in the chat and say it was me, but damn the battle.
No worries, man. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad.
I'm Miguel.
And first live show of the Halloween season is here. Super, super pumped because this is not only a show that I've wanted to do for a while. I've had it kind of the idea rolling around in the back of my head. But our guests tonight are two people that we've wanted to get together with for a while. And they are two really great contributors to the online movie community, to the YouTube horror world. First up, you know him as one of the hosts over at Good Real Hunting. Please give a warm welcome to the one and only Brettman. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. First off, honored to be here, been a fan of your all's channel for the longest time, and especially when we talked about for the Real Horror Awards show that we did last year, you all being presenters, and we definitely would love to have you all back. And lastly, Brad sends his apologies. He really, really wanted to be here. If there's any chance to get to talk about Rob Zombie Halloween movies and the original, he is always there for it. It's just unfortunately he had to deal with something else at this time, so he does send his apologies.
Not a problem. Make sure you give him a ton of shit from all three of us.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just kidding, man. And next up from the Lost River Drive-In, one of the co-hosts over at the You Need a Horror podcast. Please give it up for Nick. What's up, man?
How's it going, guys?
Other than your Chromebook overheating.
Yeah, finally got together in the same virtual room, and you knew the best way to get me was to talk about Halloween. So Absolutely. Here we are. It's October. We're going to talk about Halloween. If you guys can't tell, if you don't know my channel, it's kind of my thing. Excited to do this.
Particularly Rob Zombies, because you're a huge fan of his two films,
His second one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His first one is actually the only movie below it is Resurrection for me in the series. But his second one is my second favorite in the series. So,
and that is why I became a patron of yours when you said those words exactly. I was like, yeah, I gotta be a patron of this guy.
Hey, and look, I have worn that on my sleeve since opening night in 2009. I've been unashamed to love that movie, and so Rob, I saw 07 in theaters opening day as well, and I loved it. And then as time went on, I was like, and then but two, two, buddy, cool, yeah. I'm done talking.
So what you're saying is this is going to be really, really interesting, right?
So I mean, I'm sensing a lot of diverse opinions over here.
Yeah.
The only Halloween movie I feel like that doesn't really have many redeeming qualities is Resurrection. There's a lot of redeeming qualities in Rob Zombie's first one, for sure.
I completely agree with you. I will when I rewatch the entire series, I will skip over Resurrection. That's how much I just kind of feel like meh. Like I there's not much about it that I actually enjoy. Like let me back up. Rob Zombie's H2 is not my least favorite in the franchise. It's actually, I have the biggest love-hate relationship with like any movie ever with H2 because there are things that I absolutely adore. Like I have the mask in here behind me. Like I adore about half of that movie, but I absolutely loathe about half of that movie too. And it's like as a kid, like I know you made a post about this too, Nick, about being so hyped for that movie when it came out. I mean, do you remember the trailer for that? The whole like Rob Zombie completes his extraordinary vision thing. I mean, like I remember being so stoked and feeling so confused after I walked out of the theater. Like I don't understand. So,
dude, it was that was a time in my life, man. I remember just waiting, coming home from school every day, getting on the computer and going to Yahoo Movies every day, just waiting for new stuff on it. And eventually the teaser trailer dropped, and I screamed like a little girl. And I just remember that was right when DVR had just become a thing, and I remember like DVRing stuff. So when the TV spots would play, I would go back and watch the TV spots over and over again, and I was like, I literally can't wait for this movie to come out. And my theater experience was interesting, man, because there were some people like laughing and like exclaiming certain things, and I was just like, I was in, man. Like I was in a whole nother world. I do remember the group of friends I went with when the guy says, "What are you, about 7 foot of fucktard?" Like everybody laughed out loud. But yeah, that movie was something for me, man. That was an experience.
It's funny because I went and saw both of them. My dad is the person that got me into horror, like huge horror fan. We go all the time and see stuff. And I went and saw the '07 film and the 2009 film with him, and it was just so funny. Like, I remember sitting there during the William Forsythe scene in '07 and him being like, do not tell your mother we're watching this right now. Like, tell her nothing about this movie. Like, It's hysterical, man. It's a lot, but I love it. So
it's a lot. Yeah.
Real quick, would be missing something if we didn't say hey to everybody in the chat. So hello to Ashton. Maga said, Maga sent me a message earlier and he was like, dude, how is this even a debate? And I think as a whole, of course, most horror fans would probably put the 78 film over the 07 film. But I think I'm more interested in the specifics, like specifically what version of what character did you like better? Like what the cinematography, the score, the Halloween atmosphere, the mask, all of those like intricate things. Like, what did you like about the 78 film? What did you dislike? What did you like about Rob Zombie's film? What did you dislike? So kind of the specifics. And I think there are a lot of people that actually like the 07 film more, which I know sounds like blasphemous, but I think they're out there. I really do. So Brandon the Beldam, what's up, buddy? Who else is here?
Well, there's one of them.
Oh, that's me. Whoops. He's in the chat. Austin, what's going on, buddy? Austin is here. Rosalia's here. What's up, Rosalia? Aaron Click is here. Tyrese, what's going on, buddy? Jonathan Nichols, Lamontre. There's quite a few peeps in here. This is awesome.
Welcome to the chat, guys.
Hatchet Boys, what's going on? And by the way, if you guys have questions throughout the show, we'll kind of get through them. We'll take some pauses and we'll get to questions and stuff in the chat as well. And by the way, speaking of the chat, you all will have the opportunity to vote. So as we're talking about a specific character or topic, you all, I'll put the poll in the chat, and you all actually be able to chat amongst yourselves and vote on it, so that we're not the only. You'll get to decide. That's part of the title, Halloween. You decide. So, it's funny because this again, the knives kind of come out when people talk about the 07 film and both of Rob Zombie's films, and I think that the knives come out with Resurrection and H6, and now with Halloween Ends. And I thought a great way to compare and contrast those two versions would be by letting the audience pick, which is, again, kind of where the idea comes from, to break that down a little bit more. And it's funny because I actually saw, again, I don't know about any of you, I cannot get on any of the horror, like, Facebook pages or anything without seeing someone that's like, Halloween Ends sucked. It sucks. And then somebody's like, well, what didn't you like about it? And they're like, it sucked. Like, that's their only response. That's Michael was a baby. It sucked. Like, it just, there's no, other than Michael being old and like dying, there's nothing anybody really says about it that, like, other than Michael's the only thing I ever really, like, a true argument that people make for the reason it sucked.
Well, I mean, my stance on all of that, and I've heard a lot of this, especially recently too, with Saw, being a huge fan of that, the newest movie, and there's been a couple detractors, not many because most people seem to like it, but I kind of went on a rant on Instagram and on Twitter last night, and I basically, there's literally no place for gatekeeping in the horror community. Like, we're already kind of outcasts in our own way. Like, we're like horror movie nerds. Like, we're the type of kids that had long hair and wore horror movie t-shirts in high school. Like, at least I was, and didn't talk to a lot of people. So we're already kind of outcast in our own way. The last thing we need to do is gatekeep our own community and be like, no, you actually don't belong at the losers table. We're all losers already, first of all. Right. Second of all, like, there's two things in life that are certain: death and taxes. Everything else is subjective. So, like, it's,
amen.
I mean, different strokes, man. So yeah, I mean, love what you love, hate what you hate, but don't for a second waste your time or energy thinking that your opinion is somehow superior to somebody else's, because your shit stinks too, I promise.
Well, and it's that whole thing of like they're allowed to think it sucks, but if you say that you disagree, they're like, no, you're wrong. It's like, okay, how are you wrong for what you think? Like, I don't care. Like, if you think it sucks, great. Like, that's fine, But, like, I don't have to think it sucks because you think it sucks. And it's the same thing for H2. It's the same thing for Resurrection. It's the same thing for the Elm Street remake or any of the other controversial horror films,
Careful on the Elm Street remake. I'm a defender.
I'll tell you, I'm slowly becoming a defender. The first time I saw it, I hated it, and the more and more I've watched it, I'm kind of like,
dude, that movie slaps. I don't care what anybody says.
Like I dig it.
Wait, Nick, you a fan too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
God, man, you're getting cooler each time I get to know you, man. So,
really quick before we roll, best slasher remake, go.
Slasher remake.
Oh, wait,
best
what's the
slasher
criteria
remake.
here? Are you just specifically talking the big three, or are you talking in general?
Oh, I'm talking in general. The best slasher remake.
Maniac.
Okay, damn. See, I haven't seen that
mine
one.
is controversial.
Not the big three.
Slasher remake. I guess like I'm for some reason having a hard time. It's usually on streams. It's like where my mind goes blank for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's bullshit. But for me, if I'm going to say one right now, Friday the 13th remake, but it's mainly because of the first 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
because
because
if they just did a short film of that for the first 10 to 15 minutes, that would have been the best Friday the 13th thing they ever done.
I don't know who SPC Unleashed is, but I can't believe that slipped my mind. Yeah, it's either Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Maniac.
Mine, I am
That's another
firm defender of the Texas Chainsaw 2003 remake. It is my absolute favorite horror remake. I mean, slasher, non-slasher, like whatever. It's my favorite horror remake of all time.
I actually like the beginning better.
Movie.
I actually like the beginning better.
The beginning was all right, but it didn't. I felt like it explained too much. I know as a Halloween person, I'm saying that it just explained too much. It showed too much. Like I didn't want to see it. It felt it was so good because the 03 film just like dropped you into like the chaos and slowly realizing that like everybody that they encounter is in on it in that movie. Like is just it was so cool. It just feels like you're digging a deeper and deeper hole, you know.
Yeah, but you know the best part about the beginning, everybody dies.
True, that's true too. I kind of dig that
I love
too, though.
movies like that.
It's so baller because it waits until like the last second you think that she's gonna make it, and then boom, she doesn't, and the movie ends, and it's like, oh, all right, it's okay. So, all right, let's get into this thing. So here's how this is gonna work. Throughout the show, we're going to move through each character or topic, and we're going to kind of compare, and we're going to talk about them, and a couple of things. So first of all, these are characters that are in both versions of the film. So like, there's no Joe Grizzly bitch. There's nobody that was not in the 78 because there's nothing to really compare it to. And second of all, this is not based on an actor's performance alone. So sure, that can be a piece of it. But it's also about like the treatment of the character, the dialogue, the acting, the ways that they, I don't know, contribute to like the overall plot and the overall story. You know what I mean? So, and as the chat, as a chatter, you will vote on which version you like better when you see this ticker go by. So that's going to be the ticker. When you see that, it's your time. The poll is in the chat. So, and you guys can vote too if you want to pull up the stream. That's fine with me. So that's pretty much it. You'll have like 3 to 5 minutes or so, however long it takes us to talk about it. This is basically the who did it better version of Halloween. So we ready to rock and do this thing?
Do it.
Let's roll it.
All right. First up, let me find the thing. So first up, we're going to come out with a banger here. Which version of this character do you prefer? Judith Myers, do you prefer the 78 version of this character? Or do you prefer the 07 version? This was a tough one for me. I really kind of had a hard time with this.
I don't know.
So,
I
mean,
mean,
do you want to go around the horn like person by person?
Yeah, we can go person by person. Nick, why don't you start us off on this one?
Oh, okay. Well,
or not, or we can do something else. I don't,
no.
I don't have a preference. It doesn't matter.
I'm going 07 Judith. One, because she gets more screen time. Yes, she's incredibly unlikable, but that's kind of the point. Right. There's way more character with her. Way more character. She's actually a character. In the original movie, she's almost kind of like set dressing. So just for characterization purposes, it's 07. But I will say, Sandy Johnson, she's got things that Hannah does not.
Yep.
We'll say that.
100%.
So she wins in that regard. But characterization wise, it's 07.
Oh, I gotta put the poll in. Shit. I completely forgot.
You put the poll.
Yeah. Judith Myers. Miguel, why don't you go next?
Well, it's pretty easy for me to like decide because I mean it's 07 obviously gives her more screen time, so there's obviously more to judge. But I could see where the 1978 version could be better in regards to like it just helps with Michael Myers' mystery as to why, like, you know, he pretty much was just gonna start killing Judith. So you mind there's still that mystery as opposed to like, you know, the Rob Zombie where you can obviously see that she's like not that great of a person. So it's like, well, no wonder he kind of snapped. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
there's some give and take on both sides. But I'd say just in regards to screen time, I give it to 07 as well, just because I do like the idea of the backstory of Michael Myers now that I've watched more of Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brettman, what about you?
Well, the thing with the 78, Judith, she only really has 2 good reasons why she should be voted upon. Other than that, she really just doesn't do
reasons. They're great reasons.
It's stupendous. It's stupendous. What can I say? But like that's all she did though. But you know what? What makes her special though, if we're going to really get down to it, what makes her special is because she's the very first kill of the legacy of Michael Myers. So that's why she will always be famous. However, kind of like what Nick was explaining, we get more character depth and more like just learning about the character with the 07 version. And plus, I do love me Jenny from Forrest Gump because she's the little girl that was in Forrest Gump when Forrest was a little boy. So that's the same actress. Yeah, that's the same actress. Yep. So I was like, hell yeah, because I love Forrest Gump. So, but definitely we get to know more about her. And plus her death is absolutely more brutal as well. And you just feel sorry for her just with how much brutality she is receiving from Michael. And lastly, if you listen to Don't Fear the Reaper Before You Die, you're doing something right. So I'm going with 07 Judith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one was hard for me because of the screen time thing. Like, and I know that's kind of the point. And really, I think it comes down to like the treatment of the character. Like, you know, do you like the version where she has a little bit more character development, but you also like can't stand her personality, which I know is the point, but it's still like it you know, like William Forsythe walking in there and, you know, she's got a real nice pooper on her or whatever he says, like, you know, when she's slapping Michael and stuff, like there's definitely, she seems more hardcore in 07, but really I don't equate the 78 version of being any more of a better person. You know what I mean? Like her brother's out there wandering the street.
Well, it's because like the gender norms.
Yeah,
you know.
6, and he's just out like she's sitting there. He's like,
he's what, 10, 11?
Yeah,
he's old enough to be by himself, but he's 6 years old,
and she's more worried about getting her 2.5-minute lay from her boyfriend.
I would have much rather hung out with Judith from 07 personally.
Oh, 100%.
She's the type of girl I would hang out with. Judith from 78, she's milquetoast.
Apparently, Judith from 78 doesn't last long either. So,
yeah.
No, I think that was the boyfriend. 2-pump.
I'm trying to defend my boy there. Like people give hit like unknown guy. It's such a hard time. I was just trying to defend.
I mean, like, have you ever
that guy?
It's a weird thing, but have you ever really thought about that? Like, literally, Michael's standing in front of the house. They go upstairs. He walks around the back of the house and into the living room. And he's like already dressed and coming down the stairs. And when she's like, you know, hey, call me later, and he's just like, yeah. Like, what? You know, I mean, he gives her that look like,
that's all I can say.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's hysterical. Matt Fauci's here. What's going on, buddy? He said, I mean, Judith was banging in both, but definitely going with Sandy Johnson from 78. She is good looking in both, I gotta say.
He just hates Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. He hates everything about them. He'll never give them credit in any way. Get out of here, Matt.
Yeah, her boyfriend at 78 was definitely a 1-pump jump. 100%. So 100%. So the poll right now is sitting at 89% 78 to 11% 2007.
Wow.
So 78 wins that poll. I'm gonna go ahead and end that one. 78 wins the Judith Myers poll.
Jenny, come on, guys.
I don't know. They'll take 1-pump jump over the nice pooper. So,
well.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Like we said, to each their own. Let's not gatekeep. No.
Listen, everybody's got their thing. It's okay. That's all right.
Nah, fuck it. We're gatekeeping. We're already on.
So especially Fauci. I bet you Fauci got on his 9 accounts and voted.
Yeah.
Everybody in the chat, if you're a fan, get out. No, I'm kidding. Evan, the movie guy, said, I've always felt that her boyfriend in 78 was just looking for an excuse to leave.
Hey, we've been there,
He was
brother.
having- he was having that bad of a time. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna just bang her and get out the door.
I got a call. Oh,
yeah,
my
we have that
dog
friend
got
that's
hit by a
calling us for an
car.
emergency. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's get busy too.
Whoa. Oh, my bad. I need to water my driveway.
I don't know
guys.
I don't know who would look at Sandy Johnson and be like, ugh, never mind though. Like,
yeah, I know. I'm just unless something else about the guy we don't know about, but
yeah, that could be true.
Fair. So Judas 78 wins that one. Next up, let me get our next card ready. Next up, this was kind of an interesting one too, and really this one specifically comes down to the kill. So next up is the one and only, maybe in the top 3 most iconic kill scenes in Halloween history, the one and only Bob Sims. So let me throw that poll in the chat. Which version of Bob did you like better, 78 or 07? Who wants to start us off on this one?
I could start off on this one. So let's see here, man. This is not even a contest with me. We gotta go with 78 Bob. The only bad thing about Bob from 78 is that his dialogue does not age very well, especially wanting to rip off Lindsey's clothes. Yeah, that is cringy as all get out. But other than that, I felt like I wouldn't say like him, but we actually got to know him a little more versus the 07. It's kind of like the opposite of the Judith effect, really.
Yeah.
In a way. But the 07 Bob, I honestly didn't care much of, even since the beginning of just when he first got on screen. So, and plus he wasn't that great with Lynda either. So I got to go with 78 Bob. Plus one of the greatest kills of all time, in my opinion.
It is. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I'd agree with 1978 Bob, because honestly, if I was to think about just the kill itself, when it came down to like Rob Zombie's Halloween, I mean, let's be honest, we kind of knew the strength that this man was gonna like bestow upon his victims. The man was beefed up all to hell. So, but when it came to 1978, like it was one of those moments, at least for me, it's like to see Michael Myers be able to do a feat like that, just to like pretty much pitchfork the man into the wall. And him being, as much of a normal guy as you would expect. It's not something that like a normal person would be able to do, and to just skewer a man onto a wall in 1978. I'm sure that was something that was very like borderline supernatural, hinging on that line kind of esque for Michael Myers in 1978. So I enjoyed that kill in 1978 more than I did in 07, mainly because I kind of expected that type of strength, because we already seen that and Rob Zombie when he was just murking his way through the hospital, if you know what I mean. Like, if you remember that scene, and you've seen all of his other feats, like my man was, I mean, he killed Junie with like just with a stick, like that was his very first kill in 07 Halloween. So I was like, yeah, I could totally see him like do that to Bob. But in 1978, I thought that was more like hinging on the lines of his supernatural-esque, abilities. So 1978 for me.
I agree with that. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no debate. It's 78. I mean, everything about Bob from 07 is just kind of like Bob from 78 light. Like even his kill, like it's just like it's an homage. The only thing that Bob from 07 has that Bob from 78 didn't, or not didn't, but he's got a leg up because he had a hotter girlfriend.
Fair,
but and that might be blasphemous to some people. I was never really into PJ Souls, but Christina Klebe, she's met her. She's a very nice woman too.
I would take Christina Klebe over PJ Souls.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
but as far it's 78. I don't even. That was my favorite kill in the franchise for the longest time. It's since been supplanted, but yeah, it's still like top 2 kills in the franchise for me. So yeah, 78.
Yeah. Bob, for me, I think, Miguel, you hit the nail on the head, because like the thing, with Tyler Mane, lifting someone up against the wall, I mean, I think for someone that size, it's almost like, yeah, I could see somebody who's that big picking a scrawny, skinny dude up and holding him up against the wall. But for someone that was Nick Castle's size to do that, it's the first time that I think we really see Michael in like other than kind of being the shape and kind of being there and then not being there, and the stalking and him kind of just like drifting between moments. I think it's the first time we really see him like pull off a supernatural thing. You know what I mean? So I think that in and of itself, the 78 Bob does win for me. But I will say there's a moment, I do enjoy the build-up to Bob's death in 2007 more than I do 78. I think 78, it just kind of happens, which I think was the intent because it just throws you off guard immediately. Like you're not expecting it. But I will say, like, when she says, go get me another beer or whatever, after his leg is cramping, and when he's walking, like, he goes down the stairs or whatever, and he walks by, like, this piece of the wall, like, I don't know if it was a closet or what it was, might have just been a hallway, and you hear, like, this, like, stinger thing happen, and you just barely out of the corner of your eye see Tyler Mane standing there, like, watching him walk by. And I love that moment. It's one of the coolest moments, I think. And it goes by in a heartbeat. Like, if you're not really looking, you'll miss it. But I think it's one of the cooler things about the 07 film. So I do have to go with 78, though. I completely agree. And it looks like the majority of the people in the chat went with 78, too. It's 91% to 9%.
Now we're back on track.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. So
we're with the herd now.
So 78's winning right now. Both of them. So what are you gonna do? Real quick, Fatchy said, "What would you rate me 1 to 10?"
A 1, just because you're a hater for the Rob Zombie movies.
I would say 2 because 1, you're pretty bold of asking, and 2, you asked. So
yeah, is negative 10? I'm kidding. Is that
no.
Nice?
Well, Ashton gave it a -1, so you know.
Yeah, Lynda, you a-hole. I will say, neither, for being with two like fairly good-looking women, neither version of Bob was particularly attractive, like at all.
Mm-mm.
I think that was the point. You know, a guy has to have personality. You know, it can't always be the hot jock. You know, in high school. So I mean, you got to have a guy with personality. So
fair. So we've been through Judith, we've been through Bob. Here's kind of more of a topic one, and I have a few different thoughts on this. Which had the better score, Halloween 78 or Halloween 07? The better score.
Ooh.
I like things about both of them for different reasons. Obviously, Tyler Bates did the 07 film. JC did the 78 film.
I think it's got to be 78, simply just because 07 is just 78 repurposed. It's a he adds there's some, I don't know, there's almost this more like industrial sound to the 07 version. So Tyler Bates does put his stamp on it, but it's just a carbon copy essentially to the bones of the 78 version. So I will say, though, I do think that this might be blasphemous to some people. There are moments where some of the scores, some of the music cues are overused in the original Halloween, like absolutely overused, like Laurie's theme in particular and the Myers House theme. They get overused a bit. I think Bates does a lot better job of usage in his, but, I mean, it did the score at 78. Yeah, hands down.
Yeah. Brettman, how about you?
Man, I can't even top what Nick just said. Nick just nailed everything right on there. Like Tyler Bates did a great job, like just balancing out, but nothing just beats 78. Like the classic score and all 07 did was just paid homage to what John Carpenter's theme did. So easily 78 for me. There's nothing more I can add to that. That was perfectly explained.
That's fair. Miguel.
And it's going to be like 0 for 3 right now because I'm going 78 as well, to be honest. So, I mean, I don't know how much more. Knowing Brad, I'm pretty sure he's going to go for JC as well. So, I mean, let's be honest. Let's go 0 for 4.
You would be right. I am going to go for JC. It's because I think the simplicity of it works really well. Like from like a composition standpoint and a musical standpoint, it's extremely simple. Like half of it is just a piano and a synth. Like there's it didn't need all of the extra stuff. Now, like I did enjoy the heavy metal industrial sharper sound in some cases in Rob Zombie's film, but he also threw in a bunch of like other music too, like the whole Love Hurts thing, and like all of that could have been score, and I feel like it actually lacked score in some moments in the 07 film. Whereas, again, it's kind of like the opposite problem of 78, Nick. Like you said, some of like the sting of the doo-ba-da like thing, anytime Michael pops up, like I feel like that happens like a bajillion times in 78. Laurie's theme happens pretty much any time we see
anyone
Laurie
is walking.
alone.
Yeah,
anyone is walking. Anytime Laurie is alone, like she goes from her bedroom into another room and it's like boo-doo, boo-doo-doo,
Wish I had you all alone.
I will say though, with 07, with 78, you said it's very simple, very simplistic. I can't play piano. I can play every music cue from the 78 theme, from the 78 movie on a piano, because it's just a couple notes, every single theme.
Yep.
I think anyone that's near a piano has probably been able to play the Halloween track like ad nauseam.
Chris, our Chris from Goodwill Hunting, he can do the he could do the Halloween theme song on his little keyboard too. Because we were just messing around. He's like, "Hey, I bet you I could do this." I'm like, "Bullshit." He's like, duh, 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 duh. I'm like, "Damn."
I'm a music teacher, and I have kids that are like elementary age kids that are like, "Can you play the Halloween theme?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like,
I'm so proud.
Yeah, I can. And I play it, and
It's
I'm like,
what am I, a dancing monkey?
And you see their faces like, they freak out. It's cool. It's awesome. Like that was me as a kid, and it's just kind of cool to see. So no shocker here. 78 wins 100% of that poll.
What? No way.
100%. 78 wins. So no one voted for the 07 film in that case. So. We're gonna get a little bit more. Like I know Bob was a little strange, Judith was a little strange. The next two are ones that I think one of them in particular had a little bit more to do with everything than the other one. First up of these two is Lindsey Wallace. So which version of Lindsey Wallace did you prefer in the in 78, the 78 version or the 2007 version?
Man, these are some niche topics, man.
I mean, they're both
really thinking.
bratty little turds. I mean, call it a spade. But one of them's a ginger. So I gotta go 78. No, just kidding. That's not the reason why. No, 70.
Are you sure it's not the reason why?
Yeah, no. I gotta go 78. I really do. Kyle Richards. She actually turned in a good career as an actress, and it was nice to see her come back to the series. And but my God, they're both just bitches. Like, I mean, who raised you? Like, seriously. But I'm gonna go 78 just by default. I don't like either one of them.
I'm actually gonna go 2007 on this one. Believe it or not.
Ooh,
I think
okay.
it was. I think she was less annoying in 07 than in 78. 78, like I can deal with her screaming and being a typical like bratty little girl in 07, but the I feel like the 78 Lindsey is just kind of like, what's going on? Where?
Yeah, but 07 Lindsey's a narc. She's a goddamn narc. She's like taunting Annie, like, I'm gonna tell my parents.
Yeah.
Like, bitch, I'll throat punch you in the street right now and say you tripped and the pumpkin hit your throat. Like, don't test me. Like, yeah, narc.
Look at her, be like, they'll believe me. They will never believe you.
Yeah,
so shut up.
Oh shit. Actually, man, I wasn't expecting child violence on this channel, but no, I'm just kidding. So 78 with Kyle Richards. First off, yeah, awesome to see Kyle Richards back within the franchise like years later. I thought that was cool. I didn't really have a problem with 78 Lindsey. It's just a little girl, and it's like just be you in a way. But with the 07 one, it's kind of like almost what we get now as a generation. So it's kind of got like, I'm more of the 07 side of like of what I got to experience with Halloween versus the original, based off like age in like high school and all of that. So actually, in a way, like I'm kind of like with Nick, I don't care for both of them really, but I'm gonna just give the slightest edge to the 07 Lindsey because her scream is very impactful in that movie.
It is, and honestly, that's one of the things
I was going to mention too.
And Nick does not look pleased.
Nick's like, "I'll see you guys later. I'm logging off." Like, this is...
Did not know you guys were gonna be so partial to fucking narcs here. Now I know who not to tell when I break the law.
Dude, when they're hiding in the in the bathtub.
Lindsay was a narc too, and from '78. Remember, she told on Annie about Paul about her getting stuck at the window. Yeah. That's a narc too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, but if anything, that just increased Annie's chances of getting laid because Paul got excited like a teenage boy would. Whereas in 07, she is intentionally trying to cock block. So it's the adverse effect. So honestly, it's like, you know what, Lindsay? Stay outside. I don't know. I just let the boogeyman come get your ass. Running into that bathroom, I would have been like, take the ginger, and I would have just fucking thrown her, and then we run another way while he's busy killing her. So
could you imagine Laurie grabs Tommy and Lindsay's like, wait, where are you going? And she turns around and she's like,
I'm taking the pure blood, and we're getting the fuck out of here. And they kick her down the steps. Yeah.
Use her as camp spotter.
When they're hiding in the bathtub and Michael throws the cop into the door and stabs him, Laurie opens the door and shoves Lindsay out and then slams it back again.
Dude, it's like a dog. It's like a dog when you have the piece of meat and you're just like, go get the meat so you can distract it for a second. You all can just fucking bolt. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I'm done talking about how much I hate her.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's been why has Lindsay been the most heated one out of any character we've talked about so far?
Well, I was going to say
nobody likes Lindsay. A narc, dude.
Well, hey, 07 Lindsay, have you ever seen a movie called Ginger Dead? That could be you if you don't shut the fuck up.
Oh man. So in the poll, this one's it was pretty divided last time I looked at it. 78 winning 71% to 29% for the 07 film. So apparently no one likes a narc, Nick.
Nobody likes a narc.
Nobody likes a narc. You're right.
I knew that.
So that got really, really heated. I'm shocked, man. I didn't even look at the chat. I could only imagine. Rosalia said 78 Lindsay just wants to watch TV. She really does.
That's fair.
She wasn't really even watching TV, though. She was just staring into space.
She looks like she's on shrooms. I mean, that one shot of her on the couch.
She didn't even move for the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Hey man, that's a good check. You think about it. She caught an easy check. Just sit there and watch TV and look pretty. And I was like, it's a pretty easy job for me.
Just there was 3 different scenes. She just it doesn't move. At one point I was concerned.
Like a bomb could go off outside and she should still be like. And I also find it funny that
on the streets.
Yeah, 78 Lindsay or when Laurie is like if you hear the phone ringing, we still have a landline in our house. It's the weirdest thing.
I was about to say, is that a landline?
No, you're not crazy. Billy's on the phone.
I was like, don't let Lindsay answer it.
Oh, hi, Paul.
Oh, Paul. It's hysterical because when Laurie looks at her and she's trying to get her to when Annie is looking at Lindsay and she's trying to get her to do what she wants her to do and stuff, and Lindsay's like, no, I don't want to go, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, and Annie's like, what if I set it up where you could go watch TV with Tommy Doyle? And Lindsay's like, okay. And she just hops up and she's all ready to go after that. So maybe she wanted herself a little something too.
She had her needs, I guess.
Cooties back then, though.
I know,
cooties. Kids, you don't want cooties.
Which next up brings us to Tommy Doyle. This was kind of a tough one for me too, because I actually don't dislike either version of them.
Let me take this one.
Oh boy. For it. Oh shit.
Let me take this one. All right. It's simple. Y'all thought you had me figured out. Nope. It's 07. You want to know why?
Solid.
Look. Brian Andrews is a terrible actor. Even as a kid, he couldn't act for dick.
Fair.
On top of that, he was so annoying. Oh my God.
Yeah. Even his voice.
His voice is so whiny. Now, having said that, new Tommy was kind of annoying too. But he was just a little bit more of a smart ass. He was a little spunkier. He just had more personality to him.
Yeah.
And I like Skylar Gazondo. I think he's a pretty good actor. And
I agree. I was
like, you know what? he reminds me more of me. I feel like his relationship with Laurie in 07 is a lot more playful and a lot more like they actually appreciate and respect each other. Whereas in 78, it just kind of seemed like it was like, dear God, leave me alone, child. I'm only doing this so I have money to buy weed and beer. Like, so I'm going 07. I'm going 07.
And JLC even kind of looks like that. Like when she's on the phone with Annie or when she's in the kitchen, like anytime she talks to Tommy, when they're walking down the street, when she goes to put the key in the Myers house, like Tommy's talking to her and she's just like, yeah, okay, cool, fine, cool. Like whatever. I'm doing this other thing. Like I don't care about what you have to say. You know what I mean? They actually like, I don't know. It was kind of cool. Like I would go 07 too because it seemed like Scout Compton, I don't know, their chemistry was just a little bit better. It seemed more of like even despite their age difference, like a true friendship kind of thing. Like they understood each other. There's banter. It's like he has the good qualities of what Lindsey had without the narc part of her.
He's not a narc.
He's not a narc.
Wasn't a narc.
Oh man. Have y'all ever seen the original South Park first episode of when Kyle plays the game called Kick the Baby?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I like to play the game called Kick the 78 Tommy Doyle. My God, such an annoying little brat. Like kind of like the Luke Skywalker of the horror like community, or just like the horror movies in general. Talk about such a whiny character. Tommy Doyle 78, so whiny. So give me the 07 Tommy any day of the week. Kind of like y'all best explained it. Like just what he is presented as a character really meshes well with the type of Laurie Strode that we get in the 07 one, of the type of character she is. They mesh better, a lot better than Jamie Lee Curtis and that Tommy Doyle from 78. Yeah. So give me 07 as well.
Yeah.
Miguel? I'm gonna go out of the park. Give me the Paul Rudd Tommy Doyle. I am all for that.
I agree.
Oh,
Let's be honest. I am all for that one. Give me the creepy Paul Rudd. I am down for that any day of the week. No, but I mean, I would have to go for 07 too, mainly because I wasn't really a fan of Anthony Michael Hall from the 1978, even to the remake, even to the sequel, that we got recently, and just because of like how whiny he was again in 1978, but also just I didn't like how his entire story pretty much played out all the way up to Halloween Kills. It just, as if I was looking at the story as a whole, it just, I didn't really like how that went. But in regards to 07, I got to be honest, I agree with you in regards to like relatability. I thought that was very much a babysitter and babysitting the child kind of like dynamic I'd see. Whereas like with Jamie Lee Curtis, it was more like a mom and like nephew kind of thing that I kept seeing. So I'm going with 07.
A hot take here, though.
I'm going with Paul Rudd too.
Yeah, I mean, hot take here. I actually think Anthony Michael Hall's damn good in Kills. I just think the dialogue given to him sucks balls.
I agree. Dude,
or just everything provided to him sucked in a way.
Yes. When I went back and rewatched that like 2 months ago, I was like, man, he's giving it his all. Like the motherfucker, like his facial acting, like but his dialogue is trash. Like
some of the stuff they have him. Some of the stuff they have him say, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then it's like no matter how well you deliver it or how cool you deliver it, it still comes across as like The Rock is saying it in Jumanji or something. Like you're trying to be all like.
Yeah, we don't need a dude holding a bat, talking to himself, pumping himself up.
Yeah.
Swing away.
They tried to make him Negan from The Walking Dead.
Dude, come on. But he's good. He's good.
Hey, Anthony Michael Hall could be my Huckleberry. Just because of the fact that I'll be your Huckleberry.
Well, that's a good question. So, 78 Tommy, 07 Tommy, Paul Rudd's Tommy, or Anthony Michael Hall's Tommy?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd still?
Paul Rudd.
Look at us, yeah.
Just because I like Paul Rudd. So, but Paul Rudd is just creepy as shit.
It's complete bullshit how much people shit on Paul Rudd for that movie. And they're like, oh, his acting's so wooden. It's so bad. I'm like, dude, he's literally supposed to be playing it exactly how he's playing it. He's doing a great job.
He was supposed to be kind of
this neurotic, weird. Yeah, like he does a great job with it.
It kind of makes sense too, considering what happened. I mean, it's either or. Either you just end up as someone like Anthony Michael Hall, or kind of like Paul Rudd, a weirdo, or someone drunk at a bar that's just looking for revenge. I mean, either one.
I love that. I love that moment when Kara's changing, and she looks out the window and she sees him with binoculars watching him, and he knows he's caught, and he still doesn't look away. He's still just like.
Well, he's like, well, Shit. Like,
Respect. He was caught. Respect. Own it. Yeah. Own it. Just be like, what's up? Yeah.
Hit the L.
Yeah, she didn't stop immediately, folks. She's like,
yeah.
Okay. Like, I was okay. Then maybe this game a little too.
It's a little bit of a tease. Yeah.
Like the last thing with Anthony Michael Hall, the best explanation I can explain, kind of like what Nick was. Let's just say, I know Bears, I know you're going through a rough time right now, but let's just say Michael Anthony Hall was like Justin Fields, very talented, but if you give him a shit offensive script, you're not going to get the best out of him. And I feel like that's what Michael Anthony Hall kind of experienced how he kills.
Hey, Brett, imagine how I feel. My offensive coordinator's Matt fucking Canada.
Okay. You know what, Nick? My first thought, to be honest, the first line in my head, I was going to use the Pittsburgh Steelers reference with the coordinator. But I was like,
sucks.
No, I was like,
I'd rather gouge my eyes out with rusty spoons than watch that offense once a week. Like,
I was about to say, it's like, no, Nick's it's a Steelers fan. I better not use that one. Let's go with the Bears. Like,
Man, we're in Kentucky where we're so close to Cincinnati that everybody is a Bengals fan. And leading into
don't worry, they're not doing great either.
Well, everybody was like, "Man, this is going to be the Bengals' year. Like, they're going to make it back to the Super Bowl. Like, this is going to be their year."
I'm a half hour away from Cincinnati. I grew up there. Are you really? I live right outside of Dayton. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Sweet, man.
Oh yeah, that's not far. That's not far at all.
Hell, we're all pretty close to each other. Are you guys going to Scarefest again?
I don't know. I still haven't decided. I don't think anybody that went last year is going. Maybe Piz, but he just went to age 45. So I don't know. He might be tapped out financially.
Piz is in Kentucky, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He lives, I think, like an hour outside of Louisville. So yeah, a lot of people in the same area. And then Christian, you got fucking down in Louisiana. So
solid. And it's funny because like Mike and Jay, Miguel has actually ran into Mike before, just like out and about. Like that's how close we live to Mike and Jay. It's really weird. It's funny how people are like concentrated in that like 3-state area. It's awesome.
Dude, I was so salty last year when we went to Scarefest because we went up to Mike and Jay's booth and they were like, "Oh, what's up, dudes?" Because we had them on the pod last year, and they were just talking to me and Christian, and they were like, "Dude, you guys like come out and have beers with us after this. Like, you guys staying here?" We're like, "Yeah, we're staying in a hotel." They're like, "Oh, come have beers with us." I was like, "All right, cool." And then, but we didn't end up going because we came as a group, and Christian was like, "Oh, like we're all just gonna go back to the hotel as our group." And I was like, "Dude, we just missed a chance to go out and get drunk with Mike and Jay." Like,
dude, low key, it was the best part of Scarefest, hanging out with like them and all of like the other horror people that went and just got drunk afterwards.
I'd say,
awesome.
because that was like, because Scarefest that year was around the same time as like we were still talking about Halloween Ends.
Yeah, it had just come out a week before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was just on everybody's mind, like at the after party that we went to, and that was great. I mean, that helped like open my eyes to a lot of different perspective for Halloween Ends, because you know how we all left that movie theater with befuddled. But yeah, I thought Scarefest was pretty lit, especially the after party. So
a bunch of drunk people talking about Halloween, that's not a problem at all.
No, not at all.
I'm gonna try to go next year, but my idea, it's on my bucket list for conventions, is to go to Scarefest. So it's going to try to be there next year.
Look, as long as everybody was just saying that Halloween Ends fucking rules, then we're good. Like we're good. As long as everybody was on that same frame of mind.
For real.
You'll get there.
No, I won't.
Yes,
if you talk to my co-host Brad, like he will be right there with you talking about how much of a good time it was.
You'll get there. I know you will. I know you will.
So
I think most people will get there. But anyway, yeah, we're getting derailed.
It's okay. I looked back at the poll and I was shocked. It was a tie until we just had 4 more people vote. 78 won, 55% to 45%.
Dude, that's just Rob Zombie haters. Like, you can't even give 100%. Me a good reason. Like,
I'll give you a good reason. Look at 78's haircut. That's a good reason right there.
Yeah, and then look at the look at the homage to Otis from House of a Thousand Corpses on the right there. Right. Yeah, that's way cooler.
Yeah.
Look at that. On the right, you see 2 people that actually like each other and are having a pretty good time, and then on the left, you see someone who's completely just like she's not even.
She's so tuned out, like she's not even paying attention to what he's saying right now.
But I feel like that's the whole movie. Like anytime, even when he's standing behind. When he's standing behind the curtain and he's like, you know, Laurie the Boogie. Well, first of all, when he's like, that's the Boogie, and she's like, shut your mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? That's the shittiest thing. That's the shittiest thing Lindsay did in that entire movie, where she goes, "I believe you, Tommy."
Right.
Excuse me?
Yeah, it's like
Narc.
Lindsay. I know you're trying to get with Tommy, but first off, y'all are like 6 years old, so you're not even supposed to be like doing that kind of stuff right now. Like that's gross. But damn.
Yeah. Aaron Click said Laser Man, Neutron Man, Chunky Asses.
Aaron Click, what's the boogeyman?
What's the boogeyman? Aaron also said, I get why they went with Tommy's character for kills, but it was disappointing to see him be such a knee-jerk reactor. Yeah, I don't know. I still think the problem with Kills, I was maybe looking forward to Kills like, I thought Kills was going to be my favorite movie of the franchise. I really did. And I feel like
personally consider that one of my favorite out of that trilogy.
They just sold themselves short with some of the dialogue. Like, I didn't mind the hospital stuff. I didn't mind the way it ended. I really didn't mind most of that movie, but the dialogue is just so like off color in some places. It's just, it doesn't fit with what's happening, you know? Like, my wife looked at us at one point during the movie and it was when Carmela McNeil's character, when Michael like moves the door, like jerks the door open and she shoots herself. My wife looked at me and she was like, "Is this supposed to be satirical?" And
Dude,
I was like,
laughed out
"No,
loud.
like I don't think so."
Yeah,
I
was
laughed out loud. I
cracking up.
loved that. I was like, yeah.
That entire
Dude.
park scene was hilarious.
That
Dude,
was
have
just
you-
a great oh shit moment for me.
But then you get the perfect examples of terrible dialogue too, where she's like, "This is for Dr. Loomis. Like, shoot me into the fucking sun." Like,
I actually
dear
like that
God.
line. That was one of the few cheesy lines that I actually kind of dug. I liked
But
it.
that is Danny McBride and David Gordon Green
It is.
thinking
It
Halloween
is.
fans are so fucking dumb. They have to be
It is.
reminded of everything every 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. Have either of you heard our theater joke of what happened during the hospital scene?
Wait, what happened?
So we're sitting there. Our theater, we went on opening night. It was packed. And we were sitting like at the very top. And like I said, it was packed. Every seat was filled. And in the hospital scene, when the riot is happening and they're all pushing up the stairs, and like the police are trying to hold people back, but they're pushing past and they all have weapons. When the police chief, what's his name? The guy with the
Barker?
cowboy hat. Barker, yeah.
I
When
just call Titus O'Neil 2.0, but if anybody
When,
wrestling fans.
worst
after
sheriff
the
ever.
after the riot and everything, when he like sets his hat down on the stairs and he just looks defeated, the theater was dead silent. And Miguel goes,
Oh yeah.
"Hell, he isn't getting reelected." The entire theater burst out laughing. It was the coolest thing. It was hysterical, man. Like, we were absolutely dying. It
I
was
think at
awesome.
that point, like, we all kind of like understood that like the seriousness of this movie was gonna be like, it just went out the window, and we were just all just there for laughs. I'd say, because I could see everybody's reaction during Halloween Kills. Like, everyone was expecting like a pure like war bloodbath kind of thing, and that's what we got. But when it came down to like the dialogue and stuff like that, like, we could tell like some people were feeling like it was kind of satirical.
Yeah.
And people were just there just to kind of laugh at some of the lines.
It's so weird
Oh,
how
like,
they
why not?
marketed that movie. They marketed that movie with Jamie Lee
100%.
heavily in the marketing to try to make it seem like it was going to be this like profound movie.
Mhm.
Like, oh, this is going to be so deep. It's going to give you answers to Michael. And it's like, nah, you should have just marketed it for what it was. Stupid fun. Because that's
Yeah.
what it
Stupid
was.
fun.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think the thing that threw me off in particular was like all of the trailers looked extremely uber serious. Like, it marketed it like it was gonna, like, even without, like, I don't care that Laurie wasn't in it all that much. Like, I don't mind that part, but I think it just kind of threw me off when like the majority of the time people were laughing instead of like like gasping and being like, you know, I don't think anybody was ever truly scared. I think the only time that, for me at least, the only time when I was watching Kills that actually was like, oh my god, like, holy crap, he's really coming across as a villain, was
Fuck Danny.
Simple message for yours truly. Fuck Danny. Ruining that entire trilogy with his comedic aspect to it.
Except
Yeah.
Halloween.
Does not belong in a Halloween movie.
fair. The only time that I thought Michael really was like scary, or that it was like super super serious during a kill, was Allison's boyfriend.
Cameron.
What's his name? Cameron. Yeah.
Mm.
When Cameron died, I almost said Corey. When Cameron died, I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, that
To
was
me,
me.
it was,
That was
to me, it was
me,
2018.
Serious, like it
Yeah,
was.
that
He
was-
was actually kind of scary in that moment. you know?
No, that was mean. That was mean. I remember like when he's coming down the steps, I'm like, first of all, don't antagonize him. He's going to do it just to piss you off.
Yeah.
And he stopped and I was like, no, I'm actually starting to like Cameron. Like, don't do this.
Right.
And it was just mean.
Right. Well, and it also like, you know, because they talk about Michael and we think of Michael as this like emotionless killing machine. But when she was like, you know, when she said, no, please don't or whatever, and he like slowly looked over at him, I was like, he's doing it to like torment you. Like he's doing it on purpose. He knows that it's going to break you. And
well, because
that's why
he
he's
didn't
doing
forget
like,
what she did to him in at the
Exactly.
end of 2018. So Michael keeps receipts now.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pulling tickets. Magus said, I had to put Rob Zombie in and watch it. It's just like an alternate universe. The
Best way
Myers
to
versus
describe it.
and I'm okay with that. Just can't compare the two. I'm good with that too. I told somebody in the Killer Flick script the other day. I was like, it's I've people have said this before, but like it really is like the James Bond or like the Kong and Godzilla of horror franchises. You know what I mean? Like it really is pretty much like that. So, and by the way, Brett, Aaron responded to you. You asked him who the boogeyman was. He said Oogie Boogie is the boogeyman.
Oh no, I already responded to him going, "You joking?
Oh yeah, you're joking.
I can't
You can't believe my eyes."
God,
Would
first
you
off,
believe-
huge fan of that movie, but
Would you believe the first time I saw that movie was about 2 years ago? It never looked interesting to me as a kid. I was like, I don't want to see it. It looks boring. I know he's leaving. I know. I like it. I do. I really dig it now. But like,
You like it.
I
You
have never
like
seen it.
I'm just kidding. But man, Oogie Boogie, one of the greatest like cartoon villains of all time. Love
I
him.
just had to plug my phone in. Sorry.
100%. No, you're good. No worries.
All right.
Let me
Because
just-
my
let me
screen is black again, so I can't see you guys. So I'm actually using the
Oh.
stream on my phone on YouTube, so I can still see you guys.
Oh,
solid,
no.
solid.
Yes, but I'm not restarting it this time. We're rolling till the end.
Sweet
There you
deal. Brandon said only Ronnie and Busta can make a Halloween movie hilarious.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. Except for Ronnie, but that's the problem for most cases. Halloween is not supposed to be funny at all.
See, I wasn't
my
old enough to see Resurrection in the theater, but I mean, do you think when he was like trick or treat mother, like, do you think people were just like
I would have done
like
that. I would have done
mouth on the
Peter Griffin.
floor?
Fuck it. That's
Might
fine.
have made me walk.
I think one-liners were like a big thing during that time, wasn't
they
it?
were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, they were a big thing in Kills too, because like,
Well, Tropic Thunder, who left the fridge open.
Tropic Thunder too, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to move on to the next one?
Do it.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been through Tommy and Lindsay. Let's see. Next up, oh boy. Y'all waited for it. We've talked about it.
Bring it.
Lynda Van Der Klok.
Oh.
Which version of Lynda do you like better? For multiple different reasons. Do you like the 78 version better? Or do you like the 07 version better? I have a preference for
78.
for different
07,
reasons.
I think that Christina Klebe is more attractive, so I like looking at her more. But PJ Souls, I don't know. There's just something about her performance. I mean, even just the Totally, like, yeah, Christina Klebe uses the Totally, but it's just a ripoff, obviously, of the original Lynda. That Totally alone, yeah, give me 78.
Totally.
Solid.
Yeah. I'd take 78 too. I mean, I kind of like the idea. I mean, how can I put this? When it came down to like discovering her death in 78, I almost died laughing when I saw her face. She was just like, I was just cracking up. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, I'd say 78 for me too. But yeah, 78.
Yeah.
Brandon said PJ can take my soul.
Well, she can have my ghost. Can I have your ghost, Bob?
See, I would say Christina can have my soul. Like I'm.
Oh no,
She's a
absolutely.
lovely woman
Like
in person too.
we're
And
just-
Christina has aged very well. It was
Yep.
very nice to meet her. And if she didn't have her super jacked boyfriend with her, I might have hit on it. So
See, she was at Scarefest last year, and that was like what happened with you with Mike and Jay. We walked by her booth, and she was gone. And both times we went by through Celebrity Row, she was gone. So I was like, well, that sucks.
Damn, man. And plus, then she got really sick at one point too, so she wasn't doing conventions as much as she was doing it. So I was like, damn.
Yeah, she's really she was actually really tiny last year. It was definitely noticeable. She was pretty thin, but she seemed in good spirits. She still looked good, and she was
good.
She talked to me and Christian for like 15 minutes. It was just she just kept talking to us, and I totally forgot to pay her, and she totally forgot to ask me, and I didn't realize till like an hour later when I was like, dude, Christian, I didn't fucking pay her. He's like, dude, obviously she was enjoying talking to you, and she didn't even think to ask. So like, whatever, it happens. And I was like, shit, like, but she's a sweetheart. She really is.
Oh, dude, that's awesome to hear that. Like, cause I definitely want to meet her just because I got a Rob Zombie's Halloween like poster, but I'm getting all the cast members to sign. So having hers would be such a huge honor. But unfortunately, if we're going to talk about the best Lynda, I gotta go with my girl PJ Souls. Kind of like Brendan says, she can have my soul just because I got to meet her and talk to her about a good 10 minutes about like her opinion of like if she ever thought Halloween would get this big, and like we had that kind of conversation, and she was just extraordinary to talk to. But just her acting performance and her character work is just to me better and more polished than the 07 one. But definitely give me the 07 one for looks. But I'm going with PJ Souls for 78 for Lynda.
I actually, for acting and looks, I prefer the 07 version.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know. There's something, and I think this is true with any of the three girls, and I know we haven't even gotten to Annie yet, but like, I don't know. I feel like the chemistry between the three girls in 78 versus the chemistry in 07, like I feel like in 07 they seem
more like a collective.
Yeah, like they actually seem like friends. Honestly, there are times in 78 I'm like, Laurie, why do you hang out with them? Like, they treat you like crap all the time, you know? And I don't know. There's something about the chemistry I like better. There's something that I just liked about the character. You know, she was kind of the one with a super strong backbone. I don't know. There was something I liked a little bit better. Also, you guys in the chat are killing me right now. Everybody's like, totally. Fauci said, totally Lynda in the new one. I mean, come on, full frontal, just saying.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
I mean, yeah.
That's very true.
Rosalia said, when in doubt, boobs out.
Totally, Rosie.
Totally.
What about the kill? What about the kills? How did they? Which one did you guys like?
78's is more memorable. Simply just using the bone cord and then him picking up the cord. The only problem I have so I would take 78's. The only problem I have is, why does PJ Souls sound like she's having an orgasm when she's dying? Like, that's my only thing.
I thought that was weird too.
Yeah, it made me uncomfortable as a teenager. If I'd watched that movie in my room, I wouldn't my mom to hear it be like, "What the fuck are you watching?" Like, it's Halloween, Mom, I promise. Like, even though it sounds
he's killing someone. Like,
yeah,
someone is dying.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, it is very strange. It's like, wait, are you enjoying him strangling you to death? Like, are you?
I
think Miguel was saying something along those lines. There's some girls that are into that.
Yeah.
We don't kink shame. We're not kink shaming, guys.
Nope.
Totally.
We're only shaming if you hate Halloween Ends. No, I'm kidding. There's no gatekeeping here in terms of your sexual desires or your movie preferences.
Oh, none at all. Brad, what was your preferred one? I don't think I've ever heard you speak on this.
07.
07's kill?
Yeah.
Like there
now,
like that kill?
Oh, the kill itself?
Yeah.
The kill I'd give, I agree with Nick. I think it's more memorable where he like wraps the phone cord around her. I think that's more memorable. But I enjoy the character itself. I enjoy Christina Kleb's version more.
I gotcha.
So, and we also get to see more. So that's not a bad thing. Just saying.
Hey.
But so, yeah. Brandon said, first I get your famous chewing, now I get your famous squealing. She was squealing, all right, 100%. She was a squealer.
That's very true.
In the chat, man, I'm going to be proven wrong on this. 78 won 82% to 18 on that poll.
No surprise.
Yeah. Oh.
What?
You just froze hardcore. Did he freeze for anybody else?
Yeah, just for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, my bad, guys.
No,
I'll say this: my Wi-Fi is not the best in these parts.
It's all right. It's all right. I saw Maga say I've been passed out quite a few times, and I'm sure, and I'm for sure waking up if someone duct tapes me to a chair. He said, "Man, that aluminum baseball bat to the head is brutal." It is. That's a pretty when he kills the boyfriend. That's a pretty brutal moment because he like seizes on the ground. You know what I mean? It's pretty. Yeah. It's pretty brutal.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm not sure if you all seen this, but the documentary about Rob Zombie's Wing on YouTube, Fast 4 Hours, my favorite documentary for any movie of all time. If you have not watched it, I implore you to watch it. It's one of the most in-depth, like behind the scenes, and they talk about that whole baseball thing and how they did it and everything, and the acting. It's just extraordinary to watch. Right. I just want to throw that out there real quick.
That's one death that I was like one way of dying that I just feel. I know for Brad, like bones cracking is something that you don't like. I just don't like the idea of like getting hit and then seizing. So like that one in 2007, and then also like the original like Texas Chainsaw Massacre whenever Buddy gets hit first. Yeah, and then he starts seizing like a pig too, and I was like, oof, those kind of get me. Those kind of get me queasy.
Yeah. We're getting into the interesting stuff now. So we've made it through kind of the lower tier characters. Now we're kind of getting into the big ones. So one of the bigger topics, and this is kind of something that I'm curious to see because of the time that the 78 one was filmed and because of its low budget, I'm very curious to see whether we're going to break our 78 dominating the poll streak. So which one had the best Halloween atmosphere? 78 or 07?
07. It's not even a question.
Yeah,
I feel like you're lying if you say it's 78. I genuinely feel like you're lying. They had a bag of fake leaves and a pumpkin. Like, nah, it's 07. Like
palm trees, man.
Yeah, that's palm trees.
78. Yeah. I think everyone can agree that really takes you out of the experience within like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes into the movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And having been there and to both, I mean, because they filmed Rob Zombies on the same streets 2 blocks away. They're all within walking distance. I've been to South Pass and these filming locations. And I can tell you the street that Laurie and Tommy cross, I stood at that exact spot and I looked and you can still see the same fucking palm trees down there on the right, the same ones. And I'm just like, yeah, it's right there. I get it. It was low budget. They worked with what they had, but it is absolutely 07. That movie just drips Halloween.
100%.
Yeah. Plus, how dare you have Robert Englund to pick up the leaves when he is Freddy Krueger himself? Like, how dare you? Like, so definitely give it the 07 for the atmosphere.
Okay. I'm gonna be real. The poll until about a second ago, the poll was kind of neck and neck.
For the atmosphere?
For the atmosphere, yeah. And now 78 is dominating.
Palm trees. But there's no palm trees in Haddonfield.
No. Illinois, man. Illinois. Like, nah. Evan brings up a good point. Well, the original movie doesn't look much like Halloween, but 2007 still doesn't touch the atmosphere of 4 and 6. 4 has the best Halloween atmosphere of the entire franchise.
4.
100%. And 6 is pretty good too, but I still think 4 top 6.
It's amazing.
Don't forget about Rob Zombie.
Every word of what you just said is wrong. I like Halloween 4 has got some good atmosphere, but I think personally 6 shits on all of them in atmosphere.
6 is very damn good.
I will say, if we're being completely honest, I think Rob Zombie's H2 has some pretty good Halloween atmosphere too.
Thank you, my friend.
But H2 is very desaturated. So all the that's an intentional. He desaturated like all the color. So like watch that movie and you get a lot of greens, blues, grays, whites. Like that's because so you don't really get as much of like the orange. It's a cold color palette. Whereas his first one was a warm one. That one's a very cold color palette. But
I just call it the zombie style of filmmaking. That's why I call it.
That's 16 millimeter, brother. Films. That 16 millimeter is so sexual. I need a 4K of that movie.
I know, dude. No, Nick, I'm telling you, if they do a 4K Rob Zombie Halloween 2, I don't even have a 4K player. I would still buy the damn thing and try to find a way. because I desperately need it. I also need the 8-hour. Like I think you even reported on this, Nick. The 8-hour like documentary of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I needs that right now.
I would love to see that.
That'll never happen.
I know.
Why will that not happen, Nick?
Long story short, I did a video on it a couple weeks ago, but long story short is Rob Zombie didn't own it. He intentionally filmed like pretty much everything behind the scenes because he wanted to release it to the world to show everybody like what fucks Dimension and what the Weinstein Company were and what he had to deal with every day. When the movie was done, Bob Weinstein was like, no, there's absolutely no way you're releasing this to the public. So it was taken out of his hands. And Rob's exact words were, it is in a vault somewhere and it'll never see the light of day.
I hate that so much. I can't think of how many movies are in vault. Like great movies are in vaults, great projects are just never going to see the light of day. Full 8 hours of making Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. That'd be a fun sight to see.
Because it's like the one, like the Rob Zombie one that I described that's on YouTube, but for like the Rob Zombie,
that's on the Blu-ray as well.
Doubled everything. Yeah.
Michael Lives is on the Blu-ray as well, the 4.5 hour documentary. Yeah.
Okay.
He wanted to make it something as a feature on the home video, but they were like, absolutely no way. Because I talked to Sean Clark about it and extensively before, and Sean was like, dude, you have no idea. Rob was getting called 10, 15 times a day from Bob Weinstein on the set of Halloween 2 saying, what the fuck are you doing? You're not doing this. We're not paying for this. Yeah. So then Rob was calling Malik, and Malik was like, do what you want. This is my property. I'll talk to Bob. And it was just back and forth all day, every day. And Rob would just make it known. Anybody that worked on that movie would tell you all he did was talk shit about the Weinsteins the entire time he was making that movie. So
well deserved.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so surprising how many great projects came out of the Weinstein Company, considering how much trouble
it really
they've given.
It's kind of wild. Like when you look at this franchise alone, how much say they've had in it. It's kind of crazy, you know. And it's a shame because I wonder if it would have been any different had their influence not impacted him and had he been in a better headspace. You know what I mean? Like, would it have been a different movie? Would it be more well received? Like, I don't know. That's part of the reason H2 is so like, I love it and I hate it because I feel like in some ways it was so great because it's so weird and so out of the box. But in other ways, I feel like, man, it could have been so much more. You know what I mean?
Well, we as Halloween fans, we do have to, as much, and he was an asshole, but he wasn't a creep like Harvey. We do have to thank Bob a little bit because Bob Weinstein refused to let Halloween die. Rob Zombie's Halloween came about because Dimension wanted to put a new Halloween movie out there. You know, and Halloween 2 came about because they were like, this one made money, let's make another one. They at least did the right thing when a property of theirs made money. They're like, we're going to give the fans more of it. So I respect that about Bob. He did the same thing with Hellraiser. Now it eventually got to the point where they were straight to DVD and it was shit, but he would keep pumping it out because he loved horror movies. So but he was too fucking hands-on. And when you have a filmmaker like Rob Zombie, if you're going to hire him, let him do what he's going to do. Just let him do it. You hired the guy. So
that's the same thing with everybody. Like, you hire a director, let them make their movie. If you don't like it, don't hire him again. It's that simple. So just, you hire them to create, let them create.
And you know, like Rob Zombie's like, you know what his taste is going to be. You know the type of movie he's going to make. You know exactly what you're getting yourself into when he signed on that line. So like, why put your hand in the cookie jar then?
Well, I mean, you've heard the story about Bob's reaction to the original Halloween, right? Rob has told the story, or not the original, the remake. He said as soon as he would see dailies every day, and he said, this movie is one of the biggest piece of shits I've ever seen. No one's ever going to watch this movie. And then the day it came out and they saw the box office returns, he called Rob and said, this is the greatest fucking movie I've ever seen. And like that's Rob's impersonation too. And then he said when he came back for Halloween 2, Bob sat him down in a room, showed him Halloween 07 and said, I want this fucking movie. Like, so dude he had no idea what he wanted, but like, he wanted to keep the guardrails up for Rob the entire time. Don't go too weird. Don't go too weird. And then Rob did Halloween. He said, do your thing, man. Do your thing. And then Halloween 2 comes around. He goes, okay, do my thing. And he's like, well, no, don't do your thing. But thank God for Malik Akkad, because Malik Akkad literally is on record saying, I told Rob, do whatever the fuck you want. If you're coming back for the sequel, I don't care how weird it is. Do whatever you want to do. And it pissed Bob off because they were financing the movie, but it's not their property. Malick has final say. So if he says, Rob, do whatever you want, then he can do whatever he wants.
Yep.
Yeah, and guess what, Bob? Do you know what I think you should do? I think you should shut the fuck up.
And it makes me thankful that Malick is still in control, even even through the David Gordon Green trilogy and even into this unknown territory now. Like, we've all done videos, we've all talked about, like, well, what's going to come next? Is it going to be a TV series? Is A24 going to get it? Like, what's going to happen with all that? And I think, I trust the Akkads, in the same way that Mustafa was so incredibly passionate about this franchise. I think Malick is in the same way, and I'm glad that they will be in control of what comes next. Because Malick, I don't think, no matter what, I don't think they're just going to pass it off to someone who's going to trash it or to something that they don't truly believe in.
This might be blasphemous to some people, but I think Malick in his own way has already surpassed his father's legacy for me, because Malick has done, in multiple instances now, has let filmmakers take big swings in the franchise, and he's supported them in it, and he has been happy to put money behind it and happy to give these filmmakers a platform to do whatever they want to do. Like Halloween Ends and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 are two perfect examples of that. There are 3 big swings in this franchise. Halloween 3, well, there's 4. Halloween 3, Halloween 6, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Halloween Ends. And those are the 4 biggest swings. Now, you could say they're swings and misses, or you could say they hit a home run, whatever you want to say. But Malick, to his credit, has been and Halloween 6 was only a big swing because Dimension essentially took the project over. That was not Mustafa's idea. So Malick has been the one that's been like, dude, do it. Get weird. Fuck it. Like, I don't care. Do it. It's just a movie. Like,
Yeah. Well, and I think, people like to dog on Rob Zombie for what he did, but even with H2, as far as I'm concerned, the dude took some swings and he scored quite a few runs with what he did. Now, obviously, I don't enjoy every single creative decision he made, but I completely commend him for having the balls to do it and to be like, I don't care if you like this. This is the story I want to tell. This is what I'm going to do.
He said, fuck the fan base, because he gave the fan base what he thought they wanted in 2007, and they proceeded to trash him and his wife and his career and everything online and say that he ruined the Halloween franchise. So he said, okay, you didn't like that? How about this? How about I just do whatever the fuck I want? You can suck my balls. And I was like, that's heavy metal. That's hard rock right there. Fuck you,
Dude,
Rob. Fuck Rob Zombie.
I did a video about that a couple of months ago. These fans that are like, Halloween Ends ruined the franchise. H2 ruined the franchise. Resurrection ruined. How can one movie in a 13-film franchise ruin the rest of them for you? If you don't like Resurrection, don't watch Resurrection. If you don't like Ends, don't watch Ends. There are 12 more entries that you can watch, one cannot ruin the rest of it for you.
No, didn't you know that one movie erases every movie before?
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, the fans really gotta learn how to take their wins too. Because out of many heavy hitter slasher films, you see how their track records are. Look at no offense to whoever is really big fan, but Texas Chainsaw hasn't really had a great track record in their sequels. No. So take what wins you got, man.
No
Halloween
franchise has much consistency. It has as much consistency and as many good movies as Halloween.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
Period. The lowest of the low in Friday and Nightmare and Hellraiser, all those series are so much lower than Resurrection. So much 100%. Lower.
Absolutely.
Because Resurrection's just a dumb slasher movie from the early 2000s, but it's not to the point where it's a cinematic abomination. I would say Freddy's Dead is a cinematic abomination. It is a terrible film. Halloween has never, ever reached those doldrums. Never.
We just worked our way back through the Elm Street franchise on Purely and Simply Evil, and I don't know.
I think Freddy's Dead was the last thing we did, and by golly, I, for one, was first time seeing it. I did not know what exactly I was watching. It felt more like a sitcom epilogue of the franchise that I was initially watching. You know what I mean? So. And that's what I'm trying to bring out. Again, with Halloween, they have been consistently throwing out good movies. I'd say overall, you can find many things to hate about every single installment, but over the course of the entire franchise, I mean, they've all been relatively good. Like I can't think of any instances where people are gonna unanimously hate one movie, because obviously, like us, you know, there's a lot of people that hate H2O of Rob Zombies, but some people do love it. You know, for instance, so like some people hate Resurrection, some people love Resurrection. So I mean, there's a good consistent fan base that loves this franchise. And I think like the fans just need to understand that, like, hey, you have a great franchise here, and just understand that moving forward, whether A24 gets it or whatnot, just know that they're either going to swing for the fences or stick to the lore. Either way, it's probably going to be a great installment for the franchise, to be honest. And it's just going to keep pushing the franchise to the next generation of horror fans. So
I promise we're going to get back to the chat and voting here in just a minute, but when we worked our way, I hadn't rewatched the Elm Street franchise probably in 5 or 6 years until we just did it on the show. And I don't know if I remembered liking and disliking certain entries more than others, but Mike Holtz told me, he was like, I prefer Elm Street 4 to Elm Street 3. And I was like, dude, you're nuts. Like, there's no way in hell. I rewatched it, and I like rewatching those movies. I'm like, oh my God, were they this bad? Like, did I really, like, have I been wrong about like, I don't know. I preferred 4 to 3. And I honestly, like, rules. It really kind of does. And 3, I used to love 3. 3, I would have said 3 was probably my favorite Elm Street film. And going back and rewatching it, I'm like, it doesn't hold up very well.
You don't like you don't like the dude with his lightning, you know, his super cool
wizard. I am the wizard master. Like,
dude,
I'm like,
look,
bro, like what?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know why I used to think like as a kid that movie was awesome, because watching it, I'm like, it's not, you know? And Freddy's Dead, like somebody, where is it at in the chat? Evan said, Freddy's Dead is barely a movie. It's borderline an anti-movie. Like, it really is. It's kind of like, I don't know. Freddy's Dead is like, it's like he's Bugs Bunny in that movie. Like, there's nothing. We got to the point with Freddy where there is like nothing serious about that character. At least with Myers, and even with Jason, they stayed, well, I say that even with Jason to an extent. At least Myers particularly stayed serious in every single incarnation, even in Halloween Kills. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah, there were, like, the kills were funny. There was humor. But Michael was still played deadpan serious. In those later Elm Street sequels, Freddy's just like, he's like a joke. I mean, and I guess that was kind of the point to an extent, but it just, I don't know. It blew my mind how much my opinion on that franchise changed.
So I guess what you're saying and what we're all saying is Halloween fans need to get the stick out of their ass sometimes, because it could be a lot worse. Mm-hmm. It really could be a 100%. Lot worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was going to bring this point up real quick. It's like movie viewers or like fans these days are more in the mindset of what you've done for me now versus what you did for me like in the past.
Yeah.
And that's why people say comments like, oh, this movie ruined the franchise, or Halloween Ends ruined the franchise. It's because they're more of the, what have you done for me now versus what you've done in the past. And I think it's such a bullshit mentality.
Yeah.
100%. Zodiac said, no one ever talks about the soundtrack to Rob Zombie's Halloween either. Phenomenal. Kiss, Rush, Nazareth, just to name a few. Tax on extra points for me. What's up, everyone? What's up, Zodiac? Yeah, the soundtrack is great. 100%. It's a really good one. You guys are going to be shocked at what I'm about to say. Best Halloween atmosphere. We got way off track from that. 78 won 64% to 36%.
I think we're getting just legacy votes. We have to.
It's like Nick said, it's straight up Rob Zombie haters. That's all it is.
Yeah, some of it's Rob Zombie hate, and they're never going to come out and say it either, but I fucking see you. I see you.
Answer us.
Yeah, so best Halloween atmosphere.
07.
See the next
Glad
one.
we all agree.
You already kind of saw the next one. Sheriff Brackett. This one is a hardcore. It's not even a comparison for me. I'm just going to say it.
I mean, let's wait for the votes, man.
Brad Dourif is it's not even a comparison. It's Brad Dourif.
Yeah. Leigh Brackett in 78 fucking sucks. He's an ineffectual sheriff. He's
100%.
Give me Brad Dourif.
Yeah, so generic. So Brad Dourif, more personality. The Sheriff Leigh Brackett, especially Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. If you want to talk about a damn great performance of Brackett. So, but definitely 07 Brackett all day, every day. But really, the real answer is 09 Brackett.
Annie's death scene in H2
with
like
horrible.
That I'll admit this. That was the scene that proved to me that Brad Dourif can act. There were parts of me it's like, oh, he's just Chucky. He can't do anything else. That scene, he told me it's like, okay, this guy can act.
Well, and like thinking about that, like like what Michael did to her in that bathroom. I mean, that entire bathroom, floor to ceiling, was splattered in blood. And the idea of walking in and seeing your child do that. I mean, when he like collapses and the other cops have to like pick him up, like that was incredible acting.
And it's also you have to put yourself in his frame of mind. You know what he's thinking, even though it's just a fictional, like it's a movie, but you're sitting there as a viewer going, you know, he's thinking like, I almost kept her safe. Like I kept her safe the last time this happened. She almost died. Like I almost had to lose my kid. Right. And he ended up losing her anyway to the same person in the same fashion. And it's just fucking awful. Like it's literally awful. But I think the worst part of that scene, the worst part of all of that is Annie and Laurie. I mean, that moment in the theater, dude, I'm not even afraid to say I literally got choked up when she's holding Annie and Annie dies and then Laurie kind of breaks down. It's just like, dude, fuck. Because you just think about it, like if it was your best friend, you know, in that moment, you guys were going through hard times. You weren't on the best of terms. You didn't get to make amends. You didn't get to apologize. And like being there as they died and knowing that so much was like left unsaid and everything you guys have been through together, that shit is just heartbreaking. Like heartbreaking.
And it's crazy that they're best friends in real life and they do a podcast together. Like it's crazy how much like what horror movies can do for a friendship.
And even in that moment, like to piggyback off of what you said, and I know this is H2, but like when she's holding Annie and Annie dies, like you said, there's so much that they didn't get to say to each other. But even her mourning and her grieving in that moment is cut short because then Michael's banging on the door trying to get in. So it's like she can't even take that moment to like hold her and cry and you know and grieve her because she's got to take off running away from Michael. So like I don't know.
Don't tell me Rob Zombie can't write well. Like if you want to shit on some of his dialogue, you can shit on some of his dialogue, but like some of the characters and the character work in some of his movies are like there's not a fucking scene in the Halloween franchise that hits you in the feels like Brackett finding Annie and Laurie finding Annie in H2.
Oh,
there's literally not a scene in the series.
It's possibly the most emotional moment of the entire franchise.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure Rob Zombie haters probably hate having to admit that too, knowing that that's the most emotional part of the franchises is
they won't admit
Rob
that
Zombie movie.
Yeah, it's great. Well, even like I'm gonna be real. Brackett is well, what's it say? What's it got? Zombie
dialogue over Danny dialogue all day, every day.
100%.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, Miguel, what's your take? 78 Brackett or 07 Brackett?
Oh, it's 07 Brackett, honestly. So yeah, I mean, I never really liked the 78 Brackett. Let me think. Was it Halloween? I think it was Halloween 2. What was a sheriff that I like thoroughly enjoyed, Brad? I don't remember.
You're talking about Sheriff Meeker from 4
Sheriff
and 5?
Meeker, I think
you're talking about Meeker from 4 and 5.
Yeah. Meeker was probably my favorite sheriff overall, like out of the franchise. Obviously, 07 Brackett is pretty good.
You mean Barker wasn't your favorite?
No. But yeah, 07 is probably one of my betters because I'm not sure because like you obviously got to see the weight of responsibilities that you could see with Laurie and Annie, and where it came down with Sheriff Brackett in 1978, he just seemed like. It seemed like he was going to have more like prominence in the movie, but he would just end up just like pretty much very much a side character on its own. And I didn't really like the initial line, you know, everyone's down for one good scare. It's so cheesy for 1978. But yeah, I felt more emotions with Sheriff Brackett in 07. So.
I mean, here's what settles it for me. Let's think about the two responses. And again, I know this is the sequel. Both of these are the sequel. Charles Cypher's Brackett finding out that Annie has died versus Brad Dourif finding out that Annie has died. I mean, literally in Halloween 2 from 81, Brackett looks at the like all the reporters are standing there. They lift over the sheet and they show Annie's dead body on the gurney, and legit, he's just like, I have to go tell my wife that our daughter is dead before someone else does.
Even though technically she blinked on that
Like,
deathbed.
Yeah, and it's just like that's all he does. He's not like crying. He's not like more visibly upset. He's just like, oh,
That sucks.
sad.
Well,
And then he yells at Loomis, and it's like, what?
You let him out.
Like your daughter is laying there dead.
Loomis
in front
is
of you, and
like,
you're like,
I didn't let him out. Like, what the hell? Like,
yeah. I don't know. I love in that moment too. Loomis just looks down. And he's like, I'm gonna walk this way. Like I don't know what to do. So, but yeah, it's not even a comparison for me. And let's see what the chat said. The chat said, finally, 2007 wins something. 73% to 27% thinks that Sheriff Brackett in 2007 was bigger.
You know what I just realized, guys?
Thing that 2007 won. What's up?
My blue ring light and my purple lights behind me are creating a green reflection on the wall.
yeah, I was like say that. Earlier.
That's
Like,
the
yeah,
mixture
green
of
light.
lights.
Oh,
There's
it's not
nothing
lit.
green in this room. It's the
Oh.
mixture of lights.
Wow.
Oh, I thought it
Yeah,
was
man,
supposed
you're
to be
in
green.
the freaking Jason Voorhees' dream sequence from Freddy vs.
Yeah.
Jason right now.
Dude, this is
Yeah.
wild. Colors.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All
right, who's next? Is it Annie?
Next. Actually, no. This is a wait. What the hell?
I don't think he knows.
It's Annie.
What
It's
the
Annie.
hell?
It's gotta be Annie.
Annie's not here. Where the
I don't
hell
even
is
know
Annie?
it's on. I don't even know what's next on the list, man.
I think we only have four left.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
the big
What
four, pretty
the
much the big four.
holy hell, hold on.
Did you not make a slide for Annie?
I did, but it's not on my StreamYard stuff.
It's cool.
Here we
Uh-oh.
go. Here we
It's
go.
all
Here we go.
good.
Here we go.
It's all good.
Boom.
There you
Annie
go.
Brackett. Which version of
I
Annie
take this?
Brackett? Brett, take it, my man.
Go for
This
it,
is
Brett.
the easiest answer for the entire night. It is Danielle Harris's Annie, and it's not even close. I've rewatched Halloween hours ago. I was so annoyed with Annie from the very beginning with her voice, the way she acted. She's just not an enjoyable character at all. And I feel why? And I respect Nancy Loomis and all that, but just for her, just why? Why does it even exist? Honestly, in a way, I know this is going to be controversial, but I officially took away the 5 out of 5 voting and put it like a 4.5 out of 5, all because of Annie from 78. I hate her that much. So, but Danielle Harris's Annie, absolutely more relatable, and just way better performance.
You know what dawned on me the other night when I was rewatching Halloween 78? When Annie spills the butter on herself when she's making popcorn. Why does she feel the need? I love popcorn. I make popcorn all the time. But if butter splatters on you, no one feels the need to get butt naked in the middle of the kitchen when you're babysitting a 7-year-old. Why did she? What? I'm not complaining. It's just who does that? Why was that her first? Oh, I got butter on me. Guess I have to take every article of clothing off. Except for my granny panties.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, that's the worst part. Ugh.
At least you didn't have to deal with peanut butter.
And they're silver. They're silver.
Yeah, it could be
granny
worse. You could have
panties.
gotten peanut butter on your penis. I mean,
Right?
You know?
It could have been a very different movie if she would have spun around and
Oh my god!
I mean, I'll follow up Brett and just say the same thing. Look, for me, it's Danielle. There's just way more personality there, and I think she gives a better performance. No disrespect to Nancy Kyes. She's okay, I guess. She has one of my more memorable moments in 78 for me, her song "Oh Paul," which I literally whistle and hum in my head all the fucking time. But it's Danielle, 100%.
Yeah. Which one do we think is better looking?
Oh, dude,
Oh, is that you?
Oh, now we're
kidding
getting there.
me?
Now we're getting
Are
nitty
you
gritty.
fucking
Well,
kidding me,
we did it
dude?
with Lynda. I mean, come on. Come on.
It's
Yeah,
Danielle.
Danielle.
But let's be honest, as Halloween
Damn.
fans, can we all admit that it's kind of weird to say that? Because I remember watching her as a little girl, and it's like, Now you look at her in a different lens, and you're like, "You're so
now
hot."
She is like
so
40
weird.
years old now, so now it's. Not
I know,
weird.
but it's so weird. I grew up watching her as a little girl.
I know.
But I guess the way I justified it is like, well, I was young too. So now, like, we're both adults.
Like, you kind of grew up with it.
Yeah.
Technically, she's a MILF now, but a hot one at that. But
she's not even the hottest one. I will wait. I will wait before I go on my tirade. So, where are you guys at with this one?
I'll take Danielle. I think Danielle is a better friend to her version of Annie. Is a better friend to Laurie. I think I don't know. There are moments where Annie, I'm just like, again, Annie's the meanest one out of the three in the original film, where I'm like, why are you even friends with her? Like, Lynda was kind of ditzy, like she was kind of whatever, but like Annie, like some of the stuff she says to Laurie, I'm like, dude, she's a bitch. Like, why are you talking to her? You know?
And I'd honestly go with Danielle Harris. Yeah, same. So I'm with you guys. And I don't know. I think the whole when it came down to it, the reason why I went with Danielle Harris is because of, like, obviously her legacy character with Jamie Lloyd, and it tracks back to her death in Rob Zombie 2, and because it's just, you think about, like, that's Jamie, like how, like, Michael finally got Jamie, and just like the weight of that pretty much gets over you at that point. It's like, after all these years coming to a legacy movie and playing as a different character, but still you seeing her and it's just like, damn, like Jamie done got, you know what I mean? So
I'm telling you, Michael keeps receipts.
Even in different timelines, he keeps receipts transfer to other timelines in Halloween. So it almost makes you wonder if Rob knew what he was doing in that scene, like making it so serious and so emotional. Like, as a fan, because
like, hey, Halloween fans, you guys are probably fucking hating this, right?
Yeah,
it's Jamie, it's little Jamie, right?
What can what can we do to piss off these fans? Oh, they do love Jamie Lloyd, and I have Danielle Harris. Let's kill her.
Listen, Brandon brings up a really good point. He said she could have been wearing the brown panties from Friday Part 2, which is very true.
God.
It's very true.
Moving on.
In the poll, let's see. 2007 takes another one. Annie Brackett from 2007 wins 87%. Rocking.
Nice. Now we're getting somewhere.
Now, here's where this is maybe the one that I'm the most curious about. This is our last big topic one. The Mask.
Oh, really? I'm glad you brought it up.
The Mask.
Laurie?
Oh no, Laurie's on there. No, we're
okay.
This is the last topic one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Solid.
I mean, is anybody going to say anything other than 78? Like, do we have to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say 78, Brad. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're gonna say Rob, ain't you? You little fuck. No, I'm kidding.
I think the three of us are going 78. I think Brad's the only one here that might be contemplating.
I think I'm gonna go 07, believe it or not.
Wow.
I know that's blasphemous. Brad. I know it is. I've got to say though, when Tyler Mane goes back to his house and takes the cracked version out. Listen, I commend the fact that I like it.
Wow, that's pretty good.
When he takes it out of the floor and it's all cracked and rotted, there's something. I don't know. There's something. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved the 78 mask. I love it, but I gotta say the 07 mask is dope. I really like it. Now, my favorite mask.
Disrespect William Shatner like that.
My favorite mask of the franchise is that mask. The Dream mask from H2 is my absolute favorite mask of the entire franchise.
Interesting pick.
100%. Wow. It is. And not when the stripper rips half of it off his face. That's fucking
awesome. That's
not
fucking
that.
awesome.
That is awesome.
It gives you one of the best shots in the movie. I literally, when I was a teenager, I took a picture of the screen when I was watching it on DVD and made it my flip phone background. One of the best shots in that movie. After he kills her and he turns his head and you've got the disco ball light that goes right across his eye and his face is right there with his eye lit up from the disco ball. I paused that shit, took a picture, and I was like, you are now my screensaver. That shit is sick.
That one's my favorite. The Kills mask is probably my second favorite. Ooh, and then I'd go 78. But yeah, I understand.
Wow.
I'm completely in the minority on that one. I'm fine. I'm gonna own being in the minority on that, but I'll take the 07 mask.
I think
over,
you're going to be in the minority too in the polls because I'm almost guaranteed like 1978 is
100%.
just going to sweep that.
Oh, I'm
100%.
sure it is too, but I'm just telling you, like kind of like Brad,
It is
you already
not sweeping.
described.
It is not sweeping.
It's not
Ooh,
sweeping.
okay,
Is it not?
okay.
Wow.
Right now, the
But-
poll is 62%, 78, 38%, 2007.
That's a lot
That's
better
only-
for not that.
Wow.
That's only 8 votes.
But no, to go with what Brad said, like with Michael getting the mask in 07 and that epic scene of him getting the mask, like that's definitely one of my top 5 favorite scenes in the franchise for me, just because it's just like, like, oh, evil is back, like officially back. He's about to fuck shit up. So
Well,
I
and
definitely
it's-
love that scene. That's why the mask too. That's why with the new Trick or Treat Studio mask release for the Rob Zombie ones, I definitely need to snag me the 07 because it's actually I believe still my favorite mask in the entire franchise, or one of them.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's also like the idea of him like digging it up out of the floor, like before he was caught by the police. Like it adds another layer to that character of like.
That he knew he was going to do it again.
He knew he would be back there at some point. Like he waited those 15 years to go get that mask out of the floor, And like I love it because he picks it up and he just like he looks at it for a minute, like, and he kind of turns it and looks at it and then he puts it on. Like, okay, I've waited for this. Here it is. It's a cool weird layer. Now I will say, I don't think that the treatment of the mask was quite as good in 07. I think keeping it in shadow the way they did the lighting and stuff in 78 was better than 07. But I did really, really I thought the treatment was better, but I don't know. There's just something about that mask that I just love.
And here's my last thought of it. And I guess this is why people are like picking the 78 mask over the 07 mask, is because the whole like the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, where you're not supposed. That's one of the biggest complaints in this entire or one of the biggest complaints in the entire franchise is seeing the eyes of Michael Myers. But 100%. We alluded to earlier, someone did in the chat, that you can say that the Rob Zombie ones are in an alternate universe, so it's way different than the original Halloween universe. So it is okay to see the eyes of Michael Myers in those two movies. So that's why I feel like it gives again another character depth and like all that for the 07 Michael Myers. So that's why I still go with that mask as well.
Yeah, I can see that. And plus, you didn't have Donald Pleasance, setting the stage of like what Michael Myers of like just of that famous speech of his eyes. Like you didn't really have that in Rob Zombie's Halloween. And I'd say in regards to the mask,
well, actually, Miguel, I'm glad you brought that up because we kind of got a similar speech, but they altered like the character for oh my god, why am I forgetting Loomis and 07's name real quick? Someone help me real quick because that's embarrassing.
07 was Brad
Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, Malcolm McDowell. Thank you. Yeah, but when Malcolm McDowell says these are the eyes of a psychopath, that's why you're okay to see his eyes, because he didn't describe anything supernatural about it. He just said these are the eyes of a psychopath. So that's why it's okay to see his eyes, while Dr. Loomis for Donald Pleasance said these are the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. You're not supposed to see his eyes. So they distinguish what's okay to show the eyes and when not to for the alternate universe.
Yeah, I can see that.
I got to give a shout out real quick. J-Dead is in the house. He said, it's been a hot minute. Good to see you all. Dude, we have wondered where you've been, man. What's up? Good to see you, man.
How's hibernation? How was it?
Hibernation. It's good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here. All right. Speaking of Loomis.
Wait, so what was the final poll for the mask?
Oh, the mask? I guess I didn't say. Oh, the poll's still going. The mask was 75% to 2007 25. So 78 does win that one, which I understand. I understand.
Me too.
I'm very curious about the top 3 though, because we've arrived.
Do it.
Dr. Loomis. 78 or 07?
78.
Holy crap. Here we go. Who's taking this one first? This is a big one. Big. I don't know if I want to go first.
I'll guess I'll go because I kind of like brought up the McDowell Loomis with his speech because they both give great speeches. They're both good for what they were given to do acting wise. Like, hey, Donald Pleasance, this is what you need to do with the Loomis character, and McDowell, this is what you need to do with the character. They both did a phenomenal job with what they were supposed to do with the Loomis character, especially McDowell because he did not watch anything Donald Pleasance with Hal Wing because he wanted to bring his own version to the Loomis character himself, and I respect the hell out of him for that because I didn't want him to be a copycat of the Loomis in '78 because you ain't going to beat Donald Pleasance. But that kind of brings up my point. I'm going with 78 Loomis because of the fact it's Donald Pleasance. He not only created one of the most memorable characters in the Halloween franchise, he created one of the most memorable protagonists in the entire horror genre. And Donald Pleasance is just, he's the GOAT, he's the man. So it's always going to be 78. But I definitely want to appreciate what McDowell did in his attempt of his go as Dr. Loomis.
Yeah.
Well, I personally felt with Donald Pleasant, I kind of sensed like it was just a perfect foil between Michael Myers and Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, because you could over the entire franchise, you could see the connection that they had with one another. Like you could see Loomis slowly losing his mind just as much as Michael Myers did in his search for Michael Myers, and you could tell that you could feel the drive and the will to try to like stop Michael Myers, the same way Malcolm McDowell did whenever he was trying to like rehabilitate Michael Myers as a young kid. And you can see how like that slowly broke him down as you saw young Michael just perpetually going crazier and crazier to the point where she kills the cafeteria lady, and it's just like my man is so far gone.
Yeah.
So but with Donald Pleasance, it felt more like a how can I say this? Like you need to put the dog down. Like he's bitten enough people. It's time to put him down. Kind of attitude with Donald Pleasant. Whereas Michael McDowell was more like he's gone already. Time to move on. But all of a sudden he comes back, and now it's time to like warn the people of what's going on. So whereas with Donald Pleasant, I kind of enjoyed it because Brad mentioned it one time, or he's mentioned it 1,000 times. You get the Van Helsing relationship with Donald Pleasant and with Michael Myers. So I'm with 78.
I will be right back. Give me 2 seconds.
So, right after I tagged him in.
I will say this. I think that it's almost blasphemous to go against Pleasance. Like it really is, simply just because I think he has some of the best lines of dialogue in the entire franchise in that first movie. And he's a legend. I mean, but having said that, Malcolm McDowell is also a legend in his own right. So I'm going to go 78. But I will say this. I've always maintained this, and I will maintain this to my grave. You could not have cast a remake version of Loomis better than Rob Zombie did. You literally, I think about it and I go, there's literally nobody else I think could have done the role as well as Malcolm McDowell did. He's just enough his own Loomis while also channeling enough of the original. Love or hate Rob's movies, Malcolm McDowell is incredible in the role. So it's almost like you can't go wrong, but you got to give it to the OG simply just for, I don't know, almost creating the blueprint for what Malcolm McDowell eventually did. Yeah. So 78, but Malcolm is phenomenal in the movie. I mean, there's no other way around it. A lot of people shit on him in H2, and I think his character arc makes total sense. I mean, he thinks anybody that would hold him accountable is dead, so he's just kind of like, now I can profiteer off of Michael. He's not going to get me. I don't have to take care of him anymore. I don't have to worry about him. I'll write books and I'll get famous off of this dude. And even it's too late by the time he has his change of heart at the end of H2, but at least he has his change of heart when he knows that Michael is still alive. And he does go there and does sacrifice himself to try to save Laurie. I mean, he does do it. He literally goes with guns pointed at him and he's like, I owe you this. Like, so it almost goes to show you, like, Malcolm in H2, like, he only was doing that because he thought Michael was dead. He thought that he could get away with it, and he thought that he didn't have to worry about it anymore. But as soon as he found out he was alive, he was like, this guy is my responsibility. Like, he just is. It was just in his nature to be like, I have to go try to stop him. So yeah, long story short, it's 78, but Malcolm McDowell is incredible.
Yeah, and real quick, Nick, to add on top of that too, it's kind of like almost in a way McDowell even improved the Dr. Loomis character like even more with the further backstory behind it too. That's why I also appreciate McDowell. But like you just can't beat the classic 78 Donald Pleasence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still really torn on this one. Like Pleasance is so classic and so original for what he brought to that character. You know, he's a typical, like Miguel said, Van Helsing style, parallel to Michael. But I think I'm almost, again, I know people are going to hate me, but again, I'm almost slightly going to give an edge to the 2007 version because of Rob Zombie's storytelling ability. I think, yes, a lot of people didn't like the backstory thing, but I think the stuff with Loomis in Smith's Grove, I think in the 07 version, you know, in 78, you don't get the sense that that Loomis ever really cared about Michael. I think he just always saw, okay, there's something wrong with this kid. He is
fears
evil.
him.
Yeah, he fears him. He knows he's evil. He knows that it's like a dog you have to put to sleep. I think Loomis in 07 wanted to help him all the way up until the scene where he's sitting there and Michael's across the table, like with the mask on, you know. But I think up until that moment when he says, you know, like, I can't do this anymore. Today's my last day. I think Loomis realized what it was doing to him, like mentally and emotionally, trying day in and day out, year by year to try to help this person. And you're just not getting anywhere. And I think that was his moment of realization of like, okay, that was when he realized he's purely and simply evil. He is too far gone. There's nothing more I can do for him. And I don't know, man, that just like that stuff and seeing him try to talk to Michael. I don't know, even when he goes to shoot him, you know, there was emotion there. I think
he hesitates. He doesn't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
He really doesn't want to shoot him. Even though Laurie is screaming in the pool, even though when he yells Michael stop, and Michael just kind of like gives him the half head turn and then looks back and keeps walking, like there's like heartbreak in his eyes in that moment of like I think in a lot of ways Loomis sees the little kid that he hugged and that he was nice to and that he tried to have this relationship with. I mean, in some ways, I think, even in the 78 version, in a lot of ways, I think Loomis knows Michael better than anyone. And I think if you were to say Michael was closest to someone, I think Loomis would be that person. I think that's why it's such a good Dracula Van Helsing relationship, is because they go together. Like it is Loomis's purpose to stop Michael, even if he doesn't want to. It's his purpose and it's his plague. So like, I think I am gonna slightly give it to the 2007 version. Now, with that being said, I think Donald Pleasence was iconic, and I think he's probably in the top 3 best horror protagonists of all time.
Agreed.
But I don't know. There's something about the emotional angle that was woven into Loomis's story in the Rob Zombie films that just, it gets me every time. Even when, like Nick, like you said at the end of H2, when he runs out, like guns pointed, Brackett is screaming at him, and he says, "I owe you this," and he's got his hands up, and he bursts right in the door, and it's almost like he's not afraid of Michael, because he goes right up to Michael and he says, you know, "She's coming with me." Like I don't even sense fear in that moment. It's just like he's just talking to this person that he has this incredibly, strangely deep relationship with. I don't know. I take the 2007 version. I do.
Dude, I'm not even mad about that. Like, that's totally understandable.
So, let's see where the chat is at. The chat, not surprised, 85% for 78, 15% for 2007. So, of course, 78 wins. Last two, I think you could tell where this is going. I'm gonna give you guys the option. Who you want to do first, Laurie or Michael?
Laurie.
Yeah,
Laurie.
I was about to say Laurie. You saved the best for last.
Laurie Strode, 78 or 2018? No, I'm kidding.
Let me take
or,
this one.
Or 07. All right, Nick, go for it, man.
Take the helm.
Let me just say this. It is unfortunate that Scout wasn't given a ton to do in 07's movie, aside from kind of run and scream and, the basic babysitter gets hunted. But she has a lot of spunk and she has a lot of personality. I'm just going to go out on the record and say that Laurie Strode in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is probably the best acting performance in the entire series. And I will take that to my grave. She's absolutely fantastic in that movie. The way she falls apart as a human being, and we get to see the sad reality of what that trauma can do to you, and how sometimes the darkness wins. You don't always come out on top. And that's just, it's brilliant. That's a brilliant character study. But in 07, you don't get to flesh out that much of her. You see some of her spunk and everything, but most of it's just running and screaming and crying. And so it's got to be Laurie Strode in 78, simply just because they're both really given the same thing to do. I guess the only thing is you relate to Laurie in 78 a little bit more because she is this shy, quiet kid that kind of feels out of place. And so I give it to 78's Laurie. But like I said, I will say I love Scout. And I think H2 is, like I said, best performance in the series for me by any actor. And I'm going to maintain that. And also, Scout Taylor Compton is so fucking hot. It is unnatural. That woman is so beautiful, right? Like, she has grown. She has been my crush since I was a teenager. And the older she gets, the more attractive she gets. And it's not fair. She's about to get married. I'm going to show up. I'm going to object to it. But that's not the point. Yeah, but all kidding aside, I've got to give it to 78's Laurie. She's a little bit more relatable. She's a little bit more girl next door. But H2's Laurie, not even a question. I take her over any Laurie, personally.
Isn't she married to the dude who played Vader in the new Star Wars series?
He is. She is.
Yeah. It's pretty dope. She's marrying Darth Vader. Good luck, Nick.
Guess who? Guess who stopped Darth Vader twice? My favorite character, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And don't even try to say, well, he finally got him in episode 4. He let himself die. That was like assisted suicide. So
he did what he must.
If I'm channeling a Star Wars character, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi anyway. And guess what? Obi-Wan took your ass down twice. So let's go, brother.
Ooh. The poll is 50-50 split right now.
All right. I guess we're going to have to continue on
between 78 and 07. Interesting stuff. I like it.
Well, Brad, what do you got?
I think this one was hard because whereas like with Bob, with Judith, with with some of these other characters where it's like, one had a little bit more screen time than another, or like with Lynda and Annie, it was more like subtle like character differences. It almost feels like Laurie in 78 and Laurie in 07 are like two completely different characters. Like, JLC's Laurie is, and not to take away from Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, but I feel like her version of Laurie is so much more that innocent, sweet girl next door who's still got kind of the rebellious thing. Yeah, she smokes a little weed with Annie. Like, yeah, she's still into boys even if she doesn't talk about it. Like, she's that person, like, I don't know who even said it a few minutes ago, but she's like the quiet kid in the corner that everybody can kind of relate to, that doesn't have a whole lot of friends. And, you have that side of her, but then you have Scout Compton's side of her that is like this more outgoing, like she's doing like the bagel thing with her mom, like making the joke, and like she's definitely, you can tell she's more outgoing, she's more outspoken with her friends. Some of the banter, she dishes it back to them instead of just taking it. Like, I don't know, it's tough. It almost comes down with Laurie to like the treatment of the character, you know what I mean? And I don't know.
All right. How about this, Brad? Clear your mind, and I'm going to count to 3. After I say 3, you go with the first person you think of. 1, 2, 3, go without thinking.
Scout Compton.
There we go.
There you go.
That's how you always
That
determine.
That is surprising.
I think the character, it really is. I'm split on this one, but I think there's more personality there. There's more personality that I think like between 78 Laurie and 07 Laurie, like who I would have been friends with. I probably would have been friends with the 07 version. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
and
that's
but
actually
but it's like I relate more to the 78 one. It's really, really weird. It's strange.
But I would say this to that point. What's the better foil for Michael Myers? The better foil for Michael Myers to me is Innocence Lost, is
100%.
the Uncorrupted. I think that the better foil is the Laurie, in my opinion, that truly does nothing wrong. Truly is just trying to find her way in life and fit in, and she is the victim. Whereas Scout's Laurie, she's had some fun. She, you know, she isn't the super, uptight girl that Laurie from 78 is. It's almost like it's a terrible way to phrase it, but if one of them had to die, like who would deserve? Nobody deserves to die, but who would deserve to live more? Probably 78 Laurie.
100%.
But I think that it's different because 78's Michael is purely and simply evil. So it's like evil meeting its antithesis.
Yeah, it's complete polar opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I agree with that, man. 100%. Yeah. Brandon also said plus 07 Laurie doesn't dress like a grandma.
I was going to address that. It's like that. I was going to address that. That is not Jamie Lee Curtis's fault because the costume department just handed her like $100 and tell her to shop at JCPenney and to have fun with it. That's not her fault.
Back then?
Oh yeah, apparently according to the John Carpenter commentary.
Yep.
Who would have thought that?
Yeah. Well, surprisingly, this poll is going to end 50-50 split. It is a dead tie between 78 and 78 and 07. Aaron says, for storytelling purposes, Laurie 78's character arc is the bigger journey. I agree. I would agree with that. I think she has to force herself to go into that I'm going to fight back, that final girl mentality. I think Scout Taylor Compton's Laurie already has a little bit of that there. She already has a little bit of that strength there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel
which
honestly,
one
I would
have the wig.
The what?
Who doesn't have the
Which
wig?
one of them doesn't have the wig? Because in Halloween 2 from 81, Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie had to wear the wig, while Scout Taylor Compton never had to wear a wig. So Scout Taylor Compton for me. Well,
I'd have to go with 07 with Scout Taylor Compton because I think that like if I had to choose, I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode would not have been able to survive the stuff that that Scout did. Because let's be honest, Girl was in a frenzy trying to get away from Michael Myers in 07.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that she went through trying to run away from her from different houses, hiding in the abandoned house and just going through the gutters, being chased down. Like Girl went through some stuff. And I found that more entertaining, I guess, because I know in 1978 it was much more, toned down. The gore, the grittiness really wasn't there as much. Like there's borderline like no blood in 1978, but obviously with Rob Zombie, you're going to get plenty of that. And the action and dirtiness that you saw of the chase scene was much more entertaining, at least from my perspective. So I'm just in regards to like that portion of the chase scene, I got to go with Rob Zombie's 07.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely going 07 Laurie Strode as well, just because it's kind of like Scout Taylor Compton brings that personality to Laurie that I more relate to. Kind of like Brad, like you say, how you relate more to 78's Laurie, like you can understand her better. I'm the opposite. I can relate more to the 07 because she's kind of like around, like again, high school wise, around my age. So I kind of like gravitate towards her and like her performance of like what that Laurie Strode would act like in 07 versus in 78. Like different personalities for different eras of time. Even though I always respect Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in 78, it will never be touched. It'll be considered by most people one of the top final girls of all time. But just being like, just to relate to a Laurie Strode, it would definitely be 07's for Scout Taylor Compton's. And plus, like Nick said, Scout Taylor Compton's hot as hell. I got to meet her in person and she was just absolutely gorgeous. But what makes her more gorgeous is just her bubbly personality. Just is unmatched and definitely one of the nicest celebrities you will ever meet at a convention.
Yeah. I agree with all that.
So where are we at in the polls now?
Poll ended at 50-50. Yep.
I gotcha.
So we split, man. 100% split. Jaded said, "Got to get back to work. Really glad to catch y'all on all on one screen. Hopefully we'll be able to catch more. Missed y'all. Much love. Stay safe, man. Have a good night, buddy. We'll talk to you later." All right, everybody, get your damn knives out because we've reached the final character, the creme de la creme. Michael Myers, 78 or 07. Who's going first? I don't know if anybody wants to go first.
I'm afraid to go first.
I'm afraid to go first.
I'm not.
All right, Nick, go for it, man.
It's 1978. It's 1978 for multiple. Look, I'll preface by saying that up until the Blumhouse trilogy, Tyler Mane was easily my second favorite Myers. It wasn't even close. Mainly in H2. I really like the animalistic side of Michael because at the end of the day, he kind of is just an animal.
Right.
But it's 78 because, like, I don't know. I just think that both movies are going for something different. So it's almost kind of hard to compare because the Myers in 07, he is pretty much just a psychopath. Like, he's just a brute that kills anything in his way. And he has a goal. Like, he has a goal. I want to reunite my family, basically. And in 78, also take into account that was not his sister yet. That didn't happen until Halloween 2. That was literally just random. He was literally just a specter. Like, he broke out and just came back to his hometown because it's where he knew. And he thought, he essentially just infects this town, corrupts this town. He's a ghost that hangs over this town. He's an anvil around all of their necks. And he doesn't discriminate against anyone. He'll kill whoever for whatever reason. There's no motive. There's no purpose. There's no way to stop him. He's just evil. He is like purely unadulterated evil. And he's one place 1 minute and somewhere different the next. And whereas in Halloween 2007, he's a lot more deliberate. Now, that is what 07 is going for. So it works with that. But if you asked me what would be scarier, the guy that's like 7 foot and like 300 pounds, right? Maybe, but I feel like I could get away from that guy because he just walks. Like, I really do feel like I could get away from that guy. I can run pretty fast. Michael from 78, he can just show up anywhere. He's almost like an apparition. It doesn't matter what you do, where you go, who you're with. Like, if he wants you, he'll find you. He'll get you. You're never safe, no matter where you go. I think it's 78. I think he's just simply the on-screen demonstration of evil. And it's just kind of how I roll with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would be scared too, like with 78 chasing me because of the same reason of I'd be scared for Jason Takes Manhattan Jason chasing me because he can teleport anywhere.
Exactly.
I think that was the point that they were trying to get with 1978 because, at the end, whenever Loomis looks out into the balcony just to see Michael gone, and then it pans to like multiple different dark corners of the neighborhood. It's just to say like he's gonna be anywhere, like like that's just how it is. So,
and Miguel, do you know the interesting story behind like those shots at the end too, from the commentary? That's like extra film they had left over, and it's like, well, let's not waste it. Let's put it in there. And then that's when they went with your idea of like, hey, let's just create this whole idea that evil is everywhere. I just didn't know if you knew that fact or not. It always intrigued me.
No, I like that. And also, if you guys remember, I think in Halloween Ends, it does that same...
Yes.
Yep.
motif
around
but
Laurie's
it's like
house. Yeah.
Around Laurie's house, but it's like in the day and stuff like that. I didn't know if you guys got the same idea as me, or it was like, I guess evil is gone, I guess, like no matter which way.
No,
like, everywhere.
actually that was David Gordon Green saying it's still all around you. You killed the vessel, but it's still all around you. It never goes anywhere.
And see, that's what the Carpenter was trying to do with that whole anthology idea. It's just evil can be anything and anyone. And that's what he was trying to do.
The original end of Halloween Ends was the evil was going to transfer to Laurie. And they actually shot that ending, and where she like attacks Allison. And when you see Allison leaving Haddonfield and she's like crying in the car as she's passing the sign, that was that was the scene that after Laurie grabbed her by the throat. That's why she was crying when she left. Like, but without knowing that, without having that context, you didn't know. Like, they changed the ending because people are like, "Fuck no, Laurie's going to become evil." That's terrible. But that was David Gordon Green's different way of saying it, without being so overt. It was that callback to the original of saying like, the vessel's gone. Yeah, here's the mask, but that evil still permeates. It's everywhere. It's never. It just changes shape.
Yep, the shape.
Yep.
I think. For me, I will say the 78 version because, obviously, which is scarier for me. If you throw me in a house with Tyler Mane and H2, I'm just gonna lay down on the floor and let him take me, because like I'm there's no chance.
It's like being attacked by a bear. You just like just cover your jugulars and vitals.
Yeah.
Just take the ride.
Just accept it. It's like the TikTok where people open their eyes and they're in like a cloud. They're in heaven. But I say the 78 version because I think this idea of Michael being the shape is a force of nature. It's not a human being at this point. It's like the wind or the weather, or he is a force of nature. He is when Loomis looks off of the balcony at the end of that film and sees that he's gone, and you see that look on his face where it's like his heart sinks, and it's that moment of like, especially after Laurie just says it was the boogeyman, like that realization of like, this is something more than a human being, yes, physically it's a body. He shot him. He was bleeding. He was injured. Yes, it's a body, but like the idea that he can just basically teleport from place to place like a ghost, and he's just this shadow that moves around in the night. Like, I think that in and of itself, that concept makes the 78 version stand out. And yes, some of those elements were in the 07 version. Tyler Mane did, have some of those elements. But I think at the end of the day, do I trash Rob Zombie for giving him the backstory? Not at all. There are things about the backstory that I enjoy, but I think one of the caveats and one of the negative sides to giving him the backstory is that, yeah, you do kind of take away that force of nature mystique aspect of it, So I think that is one of the drawbacks to the backstory thing. But at the same time, there are things about seeing him as a normal human being that are kind of scary too, as this brute force, like you said before, Nick. So I mean, I take 78, but there are things that I like about the 07 version as well. So it's 78 for me.
Yeah, and damn it, Brad, you took one of my pretty much one of my tricks up my sleeve with the whole mystiqueness of Michael Myers of 78 versus 07. So damn you. No, I'm just kidding. But no, kind of like in a way, like the best described, because all of y'all made excellent points to it. But like, what's scarier? Like, to me, the scarier based off look, it's going to be 07. Because come on, man, like 7-foot Michael Myers, like you're screwed. You're going to be frozen in fear. And then like more brutal Myers, it's going to be the 07 Myers. But if we're just talking about the best Michael Myers, it's definitely got to be Nick Castle in 78. It's just, again, like Brad, you say, like that's just the mystique of it. But for me, mainly, it's just the simplicity of 78 Myers. While like in 07, when you give him the whole backstory, you kind of make it a little more, I wouldn't say the word complicated, but that's kind of what it is. Like you're just giving him more detail, so you're going to be asking more questions. While in 78, there's not really much questions you can say because of the fact that you just know he's just simply purely evil. He doesn't have a reason. While in the 07, he does have a reason. You might be like, okay, why does he have a reason and all that? And I do appreciate the backstory of 07 because, again, what we're in like 9 and 10 movies into a franchise, you got to go different, and
Right,
that's
you
why I
gotta do
love Rob
something.
Zombie, like because he dared to go different. That's why I love both of his movies, because he's going different in a franchise that's so deep within with so many movies. At that stage, you have to go different, but there's just nothing beats just simplicity, and that's what 78 Myers brings. So that's why I'm going with 78 Michael Myers,
and that's almost why he's even scarier, I think, to me, is just that he's just a regular looking dude. He's not buff, he's not super tall. There's nothing about him that is all that frightening or physically imposing, but he can do anything.
And that's like what we talked about with Bob when he picks up Bob. Like seeing a normal human being pick someone up like that and hold them up against the wall is a lot more like, you would gasp more if you saw a normal dude do that than if you watched Tyler Mane do that. Tyler Mane's friggin' huge. Like, I could fully believe he could grab me or any one of us by the shirt and pick us up. Like, 100%.
Plus, if you could use that tiny little knife to freaking just stand somebody on there and then fully go through them, you're supernatural in my book.
Oh yeah, and if you think about Halloween 2, when it was just a scalpel, when she was able to lift the nurse 2 feet in the air. And let's be honest, if I saw Tyler Mane kick the door down in flames and still walk for like 15 feet, I could see that. But the fact that it was Nick Castle being able to do it, it just goes to show that, like, hey, like, this guy is obviously not human. You know what I mean? So, like, from Halloween 2, that kind of, like, solidifies it for me as well.
Yeah. So, are we all in agreement about 78?
Yeah.
So, the chat is also in agreement. 90% for 78 to 9% for 07. So that's it. And then last but not least, overall take. I know in the chat, for the majority of them, except for like 2 or 3 of them, 78 won. I mean, what's your favorite overall version of Halloween?
It's 78, but I do think that 07 gets unfairly shit on because it was Rob Zombie and because it was a remake and because it dared to tell a backstory. I think a lot of those things are unfairly held against the movie. I think that it's a very competently made movie. I think there's a lot of really good shit in there. There's some great performances. And I think that if you're going to remake a classic property like Halloween, you could have done a lot worse, like a lot worse. So it's 78. I mean, 78 it's my favorite horror film of all time. I don't think it's the greatest horror film of all time. I would give that to The Exorcist, but it is my favorite. But 07, give me 07 Halloween all day and twice on Sunday over Friday the 13th remake. Said what I said.
There you go.
That's fair.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think, like I said, there are things I love about both of them. I love that the original is a classic that is it's got a great villain. It's surrounded by really good characters. It's got a great score. It's got tension you could cut with a knife. Literally. But then the 2007 film is kind of the more intense, amped up, as Zodiac said, crank it up to 11, like the extra version. And it is scarier. I think 07 is a scarier movie. And I really like the Loomis Myers relationship. I like the acting a little bit better. I like the character development for some people a little bit better. But overall, as a movie, I do think 78 takes the cake. But again, like you said, Nick, that's not to take anything away from 07. And I think people after H2 came out in 2009, I think people fell into this like, 07 sucked too. And it's like, no, you liked 07 before you saw H2. So don't come at me with that, So.
Yeah. So Miguel, what do you think?
I mean, I don't mean to like just keep going on the train, but it is 78 for me as well. And I'll be honest, I was one of those people that was not a fan of Rob Zombie's Rob Zombie does 07 and H2O. Like, I wasn't a fan to begin with, but as I've seen it, I don't know how many times with Brad, but I've learned to enjoy it for what it is and actually take it for what it is, which is a Rob Zombie film. So I thoroughly enjoy Rob Zombie's reboot of Halloween. And I'd say if there was a reboot, again, I could see it being like if there was like a third reboot, I feel like people would actually give Rob Zombie's a vision its due justice, I'd say, because honestly, it really amplified what 1978 gave us and pretty much took it to a whole new level, to a more next generation level, I'd say. Because when it came down with Resurrection, that makes sense. And Rob Zombies is a generational movie in its own sense. So I'd say that for the generation that the movie came out, it was perfect, at least for me. So I think each one of those movies was perfect for its generation, but overall, I got to go with 1978.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Miguel, you used the best thing. It's just different generations, and each movie did a great job representing its generation. So I thought that was definitely one of the best things I've heard all night. To describe both of these movies, that's a great way to describe both of them. I love the Rob Zombie movies, especially Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Definitely Rob Zombie's, in my opinion, cinematic masterpiece, in my opinion. But love both of those movies and what they did to attempt to be different at that point. But 78, man, it's just a classic, man, because again, we had Psycho that just kind of cracked the door of like the slasher genre, and Halloween was the one that really just really opened the door to create things like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. So both of these movies get so much respect, in my opinion. But what's the better movie? I'm going to wear the mask of the better movie. I'm going to pull me a Lee Corso for College Game Day.
Oh.
Give me that.
I knew he was going to do that.
Oh, okay.
I knew he was going to do that.
Okay. I was like, wait, what?
Not so
like,
fast,
really?
my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I love both of them for different reasons. And I think, again, Rob Zombie stuff is very overly hated. I don't think either one of his films deserves the amount of hate that it gets. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I don't agree with every creative decision made, but I think, I think he did a lot of really, really good things. It's been fun to do this, guys. I know this has been kind of a long haul. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. So thank you both for doing this. It's been an absolute blast. And thank you to everybody in the chat as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't been able to see you guys for the last hour. I kind of don't know where to look.
Oh man, I actually totally forgot about that.
I thought that at one point. I saw you looking down at your phone, and I was like, "That's got."
Yeah, Nick seems like very uninterested. Well, he's just watching us.
I was watching on YouTube, on my phone, but now my phone is charging, and it was like overheating with that. So I was like, I'm just gonna let it charge. So yeah, for the last half hour, when you guys have been talking, at no point don't think that I was dejected. I just didn't
100%.
know where to look because it's just
no, that's
blackness.
unexplainable.
It's just yeah, guys, you're all doing great.
You realize what you're looking at, right? You're looking at the blackest eyes. The devil's eyes. The blackest screen. The devil's screen.
Yes. Looking through the screen, past the screen.
No, it was fun. Anytime I get to talk about Halloween, it's something I could talk about for days on end. So yeah.
Same here, man. And we'll definitely have you guys on again. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely me and Brad have talks about doing a Halloween franchise watch party series. We would love to have each of you guys on for a particular Halloween movie. Nick definitely wants you for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 because we need to spread the positive message about Rob Zombie's cinematic masterpiece.
I will.
We want you to defend every single comment that's going to come through that live stream.
Yeah, so me and Brad need help on that one. So.
I'm splitting throats. I mean, I'm going for the jugular. Don't even. You don't have to. Don't threaten me with a good time. I'll be ready.
You know what? And I'll go ahead and say this. I don't care because after rewatching Halloween before this stream, I'm not afraid to say this now. I know this is going to be extremely controversial, but you know what? Screw it. I now put Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 as my number one in the Halloween franchise.
Oh,
yeah, I'm close. I'm close. I'm really close.
Halloween number 2. I'm just sorry, because Rob Zombie had to do the impossible task of making a Halloween movie original, and I've never seen anything more original than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 with what he had to do with it.
Solid, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
100%. So
now I'm turned on. All right, gentlemen, I got work in the AM, so But yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. And for everybody watching, if you want to check out my channel, it's the Lost River Drive-In. And I'm sure you'll see me popping in here with these guys again. Maybe I'll bring them on over my way too. We shall
Anytime.
See. Sleep in fear tonight.
Enjoy that. Real quick, Brett, where can everybody find you at, man?
All right, Goodwill Hunting. Just type in Goodwill Hunting. We're doing Goodwill Haunting right now, so you will be a little confused. But don't worry, we are Goodwill Hunting, and we're available pretty much on most social media websites. So come on in. We got so many great things we're doing right now over on the channel for the month of October. With the big thing we're doing is our tournament called Fright Fight, and we're doing 64 of the greatest horror movies of all time. So which of those movies is going to be the greatest horror movie of all time?
The Exorcist.
You'll have to hang. Wait, The Exorcist. Hey, I'm telling you, that could be.
He's just throwing it in there.
Yeah, no, hey, it's definitely on there.
The Exorcist believer.
No, oh my god, I need to watch
the Heretic.
I need to watch Leigh's out the reaction. I gotta know what's going on with that.
Oh, I'll be doing a review that evening.
I have high hopes for it. I'm gonna be real. I'm hoping that it's not as terrible as everyone says it is.
I made a meme last night. I took Journey's album cover and I put Reagan's face on all 5 band members, and it says "The Exorcist, Don't Stop Believing." Really excited. Can't wait.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, and also to Brett's point, I'm also doing it's not even like a specific series. I'm just calling it Halloween at the Drive-In because my channel name is Lost River Drive-In. And guys, if you're a Halloween fan, you know where the Lost River Drive-In comes from. Where I'm just gonna kind of pick a movie like every few days and just do a video on it. I did one on House of a Thousand Corpses today, and then yesterday I did 10 random movies that I picked off my shelf to watch in October. So
solid.
Check my channel out. Check Brett's channel out. If any of you guys, I know I did share this on my page. If any of you guys are new to Let's Talk Movies, make sure you guys throw them a subscription and
please
follow them on social media.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Looking forward to the next one.
Sweet deal, man. We're in the middle of our second year doing our Oktoberfest, just all horror stuff all month long. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at LTM Podcast KY. Be sure, if you are not subscribed to any of these dudes, please subscribe to them. Follow them on social media. It's been a blast. So, guys, we will talk to you soon. Have an amazing rest of your night, and see you. Peace.
See you.
Peace.